it's 10 o'clock, we're going to go ahead and start our work session. We'll go ahead and do the roll call.
Maureen Cloud. Here. Joseph Bell.
Here.
Jamie Conway.
Here.
Gabe Carroll.
Here.
Bobby White.
Here.
Okay, today we're just meeting up a little earlier to discuss the budget. Each person, with the exception of some mistakes of me not communicating as well as I should have, has visited with some department heads to kind of get an idea of your wants, wishes, and yeah. I'm sorry, Jim. I see the look on your face. That would be on me. I dropped the ball.
I'll blame Bill.
Okay. No, Bill totally, the look on his face swore that I had said nothing ever. So, and I do apologize to Bill, and I apologize to you, Jim. And I got to meet with Tim just this morning, so it's, I'm, spinning around trying to catch back up. So I figured what we would do is we would just kind of jump through here, and we'd say, okay, whoever was talking about police, it looks like he's on the top, so we'll just rip that Band-Aid off right now. Who has visited with Mr.
Me.
Rico? Okay.
But we did visit very much.
Okay.
Between him being sick and me being gone. We want a new car and tasers. And what else was on the list?
Okay, so far, a new car and tasers. And the new car, is it usually a 50-50 on that with the grant?
The grant that we were talking about that you and I discussed with his name?
Cody Green.
Cody, yeah.
Mhm.
He was talking about that was 80%.
Was it 80? I couldn't remember. I thought it was a 50.
The past one's been 80.
I like the last one, lady, yeah.
Okay, so
We had talked
80%
about
match
Shoot for two, don't shoot for one.
and shoot for 2.
Could we get a copy?
Yeah.
Lana, could we get copies of that to go with our paperwork?
Okay, so 2 new cars at 80%. What does a new patrol vehicle usually run?
We looked at different prices. There's quite a few different patrol cars that are not continuing. The Durangos are not doing anymore. So our hands are in. Each company, Ford, Chevy, all of them, coming up with a new line. The Taurus is probably the least expensive, but they're also one of the worst reviews. And if you get somebody over 5'10", Gabe would hate me for putting in that patrol car, because it scoots everything forward because you got the cage behind, so there's really no room. The Explorer is probably the most versatile, and we want 4-wheel drive instead of all-wheel drives. The all-wheel drive, the downfall of the all-wheel drive is you have one bad tire, you have to change all 4. So it's just a big expense. So,
Thank you, Lana, for doing that. I appreciate it.
Their Tahoes were right in the same range, but they're also changing all kinds of Tahoes. We're somewhere in the ballpark of 30,000.
That's new, or that's
Brand-
what's left on our end? 30,000?
No, that's the vehicle, brand new vehicle. The brand new patrol cars that's not decked out. We can take some of our stuff that we already got to add to the vehicles.
Okay. Boy, that doesn't seem like very expensive. I'm
It's
not
not.
trying, I mean, I know 30,000 is a lot of money, but I was on that ambulance board, and it was like, we're talking a couple $100,000 for vehicles, and then there's like a 2-year wait. So are these available, that you're able to get them quickly?
With a lot of traffic. Local-wise, county goes to St. Louis to get theirs,
Mhm.
and they're on a 2-year wait list. And as far as the Chargers, they're doing Chargers 1 last year, and I talked to the Osho, and they're on a wait list for about 2 years, and they get what's left. They don't get to choose.
Okay, so you're thinking approximately 30,000 per, so that's a 60,000, and then 80% of that is what you're thinking.
Yeah, they cover the 80.
And then, does that include equipment?
No, that's bone stock.
Okay.
That's without light bars, cages, but again, we've got some stuff in PD that, like the black car we bring in, we've got a half cage in that can go over the patrol cars. So the reason I say out of it is it'll end up saving money for the city. We would have to purchase some stuff, but I don't know just what yet, because I don't know what we've got to salvage with.
Do you have an approximate where we can kind of at least budget that in, like if you say 15,000 more for those kind of projects? What's your?
I would think if you get by with 15,000, there's a place called Show Me over in Casco where you get refurbished equipment like for the price.
Okay.
I
So if
think
you get
it
a light
was-
bar that has 100 LEDs on it and has 1 LED out, you get it for like 25%. That one little LED is going to make a lot of difference. Yeah.
very low.
They went
I think in the past that the previous chief allowed 6,000
Per
per
vehicle.
vehicle.
So that's a 12.
Say, I looked, I know there's a Ford dealership in Des Moines, Iowa, that they were around 40,000 on Explorers, but they had like 9 in stock, that if the money's there, you can drive one car up with 3 people and bring 2 back. So they were an immediate, you know, some of them, it was like 2 to 3 year wait, but like for them, they said, we've got 9 in stock, and if you look, I know Illinois side of St. Louis, there were different car dealerships that it was kind of like pick your color. I think it was black, white, and maroon for some reason, but around 40, and, you know, if you call, they were available.
Okay.
Which,
And the 30,000 might be because of the weight. So we need them now.
So we can figure approximately 72,000, hoping for a 80% on the 60 on that. Okay. And then you just give us that.
I'd like polka dots on
Hmm?
there. So I want polka dots on there.
Yeah.
Rico, did we ever talk with James Altic? Because you had mentioned that they get their cars from the tribal police.
Yeah, they do. They're used with the tribal, they don't drive them hardly at all.
Mhm.
He gets them fully decked out. One, I believe it was, remember I told you it was 30,000 for 3 cars?
Yeah.
And I was completely decked out. They wouldn't be brand new, and I don't know how much of a grant. I'm not just a grant to the board, why we the vehicle, I'm not sure how it
They
works.
stop at all casinos,
We can shoot Cody Green a message and ask him if it applies to used vehicles.
Yes.
And ask if we want.
80% of 72,000 is 57,600.
Will
So that-
it work for the 72 though, because of the, you may have to leave that 12 off.
No, he said, when I talked to him that day, he said, anything you can think of that you can get in that vehicle,
Yeah.
doesn't matter what it is, a bulletproof vest, if you can justify that you'll leave it in the vehicle, then you can get a grant for that.
Right.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So that leaves 14,400 for the city to come up with. From the sound of it, that might purchase 2 cars from the tribal fully, even if it was 15 or 18,000.
Yeah, again, it depends on what they've got as far as, I looked online earlier, and some of the used police cars are up 120,000 miles, we're cutting our own throat or something like
Right,
that.
right, agreed.
The travel thing, you get on a list,
Mm.
and the closer you are to the tribal headquarters, the more likely you are. My old boss at Freeman, that was, their deal was every 2 years by Bureau of Indian Affairs, they get rid of equipment. They can't keep it over 2 years. But it just depends on what you get and for that police chief, what police department he used to be in is gonna probably get the cars, or what,
Yeah.
you know.
And James being the chief of Seneca, he got a really good report. So
Yeah.
The
he's gonna get-
proximity to them is very close.
Right, it's kind of I know at one time in the Freeman Security Force, there were 4 former Indian police chiefs. And that's what one told me. He said, yeah, last year, he said, before I quit, I bought 3 motorcycles for $500 each. But it's like, they have the money. I said, what did you do with them? Well, when they were 2 years old, we give them to different police departments. They don't sell. I know McDonald County got like 4 Explorers from them one year, but it's a wait list and who you know. It's a tough deal to get their stuff.
Definitely worth looking into.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to double this, just
Yeah.
out of a shot, you know.
I can call James that.
Said I'd look at like maybe the tasers and more vests and stuff from them if you could.
So Rico, if you could number these by importance? What would that look like?
Obviously, the stuff up top is for the dog pound, the line under the dog pound. To me, right now, I mean, the vehicles are very important because we're down to 3, and the one I'm driving is probably on its last leg. Air conditioner, it stays on for 10 seconds and shuts off for 10 seconds. We put too much money into that vehicle that try to put another. We put 2 different computers and air compressors in that car, and never could get it to work. So I don't remember how much those cost, but it was pretty high dollar, wasn't it?
It was like 800 when I done it, and it was like 2,700 when Master Service done it.
So with the car, they have over 150,000 miles on it. I don't think for the air conditioner. So the vehicle,
You need to get a car.
vehicle-
We got the generator anymore, and you can put it in.
We just cut a hole in the top, put an air conditioner on top, we'll be good to go. So tasers,
Wait, I'm sorry, cars was number 1?
I would say number 1
Okay.
for cars. And it's gonna be a close tie with tasers. We
Okay.
would really like to have some tasers.
And do we have training for that, or would the officers have to obtain training for that also?
The training is free.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody has to get certified on a taser once a year, but it's free. County.
County does it? Okay.
Just goes back to they let you shoot 'em.
It's voluntary now. I'm the only dummy that's done it 7 times in a row.
That speaks volumes.
Explains a lot.
Explains a lot.
So tasers number 2, number 3?
Something we can do without, but I'd really like to have is, because we don't do a lot of interviews and interrogation, we've got the room for it. We can't put the same, we can't use, we got an extra camera, but we can't use that system that we've got for PD in interview and interrogation. It has to be its own standalone system with its own drive. So if it ever has to be subpoenaed, they take that system. So, and the one we've got does not have audio. It's got to have audio, obviously, for interview and interrogation, so. And that was a rough ballpark. I found several, I could probably get a little cheaper than that. 'Cause we
Would
bought
that
our
camera
own-
system really be your number 3?
Well, as far as the dog pound needs all their stuff, the portable radios are a huge deal, but that's a huge expense as well. And that is not including the trunking system, that's just the radios. So there's a lot of, so we've got a tower right here in Granby, but our radios, once we get out of Granby, our portable radios don't work. County's radios, they can go all the way to, well, I made it halfway to St. Louis on my portable when I was in county. And that's not including the in-car radio. And our in-car radios, like, I can talk from my house to dispatch. But the portables, if we're in a foot pursuit, we get out behind the ballpark, our portables are worthless. So it's an officer safety issue. But again, there's more expense. I've got an interview, or not interview, a meeting, virtual meeting with the Motorola guy on Wednesday of next week. Dan Fox hooked me up with him, and he's supposed to explain all the differences and what is the cheapest radio we can use to get the most out of it. County paid $2,600 a piece for the radios for the portables. Obviously, that's a huge amount for us.
So if you had the money, would it be the number 3?
Oh,
Is that what you're
absolutely.
saying?
Yes.
Okay, so that's something that we probably need to focus on for a grant then.
Yeah.
Is what we, and I'm sure that there's something out there that would, I would hope, that let's, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you
Oh, no,
with
you're
your
okay.
camera system thing, so.
Seems like every year the PD gets a $500 grant for safety items. I know they won't do tasers.
Yeah.
With
Tasers are
radios,
We've looked everywhere.
Solar lights would go into that, wouldn't it? That's so cool.
it might.
Would tasers and portable radios be considered part of the equipment in new vehicles?
Something I can throw at him, I don't know.
You know, you'd get 80% of at least 2 of them paid for if that's what the grant.
Yeah, if you could get it to where the tasers are in the car or something.
So that's
Yeah, if we have
an
mounting
in-car item and say that you have to have them.
If we can show that we have a mounting system in the car, according to him, when I talked to him that day, he said if you can say that it stays in the car most of the time, then we can probably throw it in the grant. But I don't know about tasers. Tasers are really an odd duck when it comes to the grants. I checked everywhere. I have not found anything yet.
That's why I was focused on the radios. I know that I've seen the departments in the past get grants for
Yes.
And so that, to me, seems like it might be a grant item that we could
Yes.
focus on this year.
For sure.
And probably for it being mounted in the car, you can get the onboard repeater, which is.
That's why I say a charger, you could stick it in.
Well, they'll put a repeater in the trunk, that's the way, only way you're gonna get your portables anyhow.
Well, the portables, even without repeater, the counter portables will reach all the way up to Web City, and they go all over, because they bounce from tower to tower.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, they've got repeaters up in that area.
On the tower, yeah, but the trunk repeater, that's a completely different deal.
Yeah,
So, and that's also extremely expensive.
but that could be part of that.
Yeah, if we
To
can
get
get
them mounted permanently in the car.
Yeah.
That's what highway patrol uses.
So would you put tasers before duty weapons?
I would, because everybody's got their own duty weapons at this point. I mean, their own personal weapons. So I would put tasers first. You get somebody high on dope, I've fought them many, many times. I don't care how strong you are. We had one that threw me and three other officers my size around like rag dolls. He was about Gabe's height, but I think he weighed 180 pounds, and he just tossed us around. He picked me up with one arm and threw me, because he was so high on dope. The only way we got him to stop was I take him out. Keep it up. You're the first with the taser.
So basically, number 3 would be your camera system, number 4 would be your duty pistols.
Yes.
Well, I thought 3 was portable radios.
Well, he said it would be number 3, but it's a massive expense that's not
Okay.
gonna, I mean, we can put it on this.
We can get by with what we've got. That would be, it is officer safety, but it'd be a luxury as well. There's only a couple spots in town, yeah, that's our time to get out.
Portable radio.
Yeah.
This is just a wish for the future, if that could ever happen.
Yes.
Portable radio.
And
It almost feels like, because we're not in your position, it almost feels like that would be like a right on the top of the list type.
Right.
it would be if we didn't have radios already.
Okay,
They're just not,
you're just saying better radio.
yes,
Once again, goes back to that grant, something we could look into and hopefully maybe get something that binds.
yes. And the radios we have, we can't communicate with Newton County, Joplin, but they got to set up, like James Alton got the new radios, they can all communicate with each other. We can't, we have to relay through dispatch.
Gotcha.
They can actually talk to each other through the radio.
Gotcha.
So if they're here in town, we're on manhunt, or we're assisting them out in the county, we have to still go through dispatch. So with the newer radios, it'll be a luxury deal to talk directly to them.
They're how much?
Just used radios a piece for 700. And that's not including everything we need to get set up.
We got 600 on this list here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at tasers, yeah, 600.
Okay, so that's your main department. So then let's look at the dog count up here. It says crates for dogs, large, small. Does that mean one of each?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
One large, one small. Emergency pen, 2 of those.
And what the emergency pen is, Catherine was just telling me, if she's over capacity, and we've got a large aggressive dog that we have to take in, we've either got to just dump the dog out, find a foster for it right there on the spot. But these would be 2 outside pens. They come in it's a do-it-yourself kit. You build it, and they got a cover on them. They got everything you need, the wire, everything, and it just anchors to the ground. So they would be not something we use all the time. We can leave the dogs in there. That's why it would be the emergency pen. Be able to throw them in there for now until we can clear up a spot inside.
You have 6 spaces right now. And
Yes.
are they just full at all times? Is that-
No, I mean, we've been down to 1 dog in the last month. In fact, we're up to 6 right now. So we just pulled in 2 today. We're on the streets.
Okay.
So there's no way of telling. And like Catherine said, she's still talking. Catherine said, I mean, it's just like a jail. You never know how many inmates you're going to have at that time.
Yeah. What is a 60-inch snappy snare?
That I had to ask myself. The catching pole, the dog pole,
I have them.
the snapping snare, it's just more humane than, and easier to get the dogs to come up to you. It looks like a lasso almost.
So it's on that pole. and you just-
Well, it's not really a pole, is it? It's more of just like a flexible.
Well, they have metal ones and they have plastic ones. So coyotes, I use metal ones. Because once you put them on the head, they'll fight you.
Yeah.
So that's how we catch them.
She's got a catch pole, but she said the catch pole is kind of a pain in the butt.
And they're different lengths.
Is she one of the 60-inch or 65-inch? Yeah.
So would it be fair to say, like, okay, for the crates for the dogs, is that just for the car, for the vehicle?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
for her dealer transport.
So would it be safe to say that the hot water heater would probably be number 1, Snappy Stairs 2, Crates 3, Solar Lights 4? No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go with that.
And then the emergency pin, which seems like it would be more, I mean, I'm not saying it's a luxury, but I'm saying like it's more of a, and you've got 2 of those on there. It's a higher expense item that would be more difficult for us to.
Yep. And that might be something, I don't know, if we can get crafty and just build them ourselves. I don't know if it'd be cheaper to build them or to buy the kit. I really don't know.
Okay. And so maybe would shirts come before the emergency pin then? Your shirts are for her?
They're for her. She's got a few, but she deals with dogs and she gets dirty every day.
She was lovely this morning when I saw her at 8:30, just from trying to wrangle those 2 dogs in.
Yeah.
And I know it seems kind of odd to say that I feel like it's kind of a necessity. I'll be honest with you, I got a message the other day, literally one of your boys driving our truck with the sign on the side of it, and he's in somebody's yard. They took a picture of him, took a picture of the truck and said, "Is this really a Granby person?" And I said, "Yes, it is. He's probably reading the meter." And so it was like, so to have somebody in your yard trying to catch a dog that ran from somebody else's yard probably is pretty important to have her kind of uniform so that everybody's used to what she looks like.
The one she's wearing right now, I paid for out of pocket because I just didn't want her going to the yards and
Okay.
not being visible.
So I just kind of felt like, I mean, thinking about it, I know it seems kind of odd, but to me, I think it is kind of a necessity for her.
But it would be like me going up to a door with a gun, no badge or anything, and say you're under arrest. So, yeah, I agree.
So can we talk about uniforms for a minute?
Yeah.
So it seems like every year uniform expense has been substantial, and I know that the previous chief invested in a entirely new set of uniforms for the officers. Is that going to be a yearly thing to budget for? Because I know other departments don't do that. I mean,
Depending on, well, actually county does, depending on the turnover. Because Jason Deno is not, I'm not getting into Jason Deno.
so turnover dictates that,
Yes.
not necessarily,
Yeah.
okay. So are you buying the same uniforms that have been bought previously so that there's not a complete changeover in
We've gone a lot
uniforms?
cheaper. The last shirts that we bought, we're saving $40 per shirt. They're the
Okay.
same style, but not the same
Brand.
brand.
Okay.
And they're more comfortable.
So when you purchase new for a new officer, we're purchasing the same style of uniform, so you're not having to change over the whole department to a new look?
We're getting away from the old-fashioned striped pants. And all the departments around are with the BDUs.
Right.
And the BDUs are about a fourth the price of the striped pants as well. The striped pants were, I believe, $85, $90 a pair, and these are only $25 a pair. And these are also, those, if you go through Briars, you're gonna have snags and smears all over the place. They're more of a dress pant.
Right.
Where these are the stock rips, so they're not gonna rip the whole side of your pant down. They've also got extra pockets, so it's just, they're more practical for, those are great for if you have to go to a funeral or something.
Sure.
Or an event of some kind. The striped pants are, but these are more practical for everyday work.
So you are or you aren't replacing department-wide just as need dictates? I guess that's my question.
So what she's saying is, are you going to replace the entire department thing, or are you just saying, I have an officer here who is in need of a shirt, we're going to get him a shirt, or
That's-
and it's the same style that everybody else is wearing?
Yes. Okay, like I said, I want to go to these pants for everybody, and we would still keep the striped pants, so we wouldn't have to replace those.
Yeah.
And these would last, I have this pair for 7 years. So it wouldn't be something that we would do all the time, but I would like to get every officer at least 2 pair of these. And I believe 3 of us already have some, so we don't need them. But
You say every officer, what about your reserve?
the reserves, Kelly did buy clothes for the reserves, but that was the dress uniform. If the reserve wants to wear the dress uniform, he can, but if he wants to go to these, then, or she, then I think the reserves can buy their own PDUs.
You have like a closet that you could keep them in, and that way if somebody comes on, those are their size, they can use that? Is that what we're gonna do, or what?
Yeah, they'll call them all. They're shopping them all. And pickings are slim in there because we had some fairly large individuals. We have some pants that were 52s.
We don't need to talk about that, it's sensitive.
So yeah, I So I can't, and
You have a belt, right?
I think for those 52s and Jamie's sewing ability, Jennifer's got 3 uniforms. Suspenders.
I did everybody's but his last time. So, I'm just kind of calculating this, so you're saying pants 25, 12 of those? $25. That's 300.
Get a 3 pair of pants on 152 inch.
360. So it would be $300 worth of pants and $300 or $360 worth of shirts. Does that include your badges that you get sewn on and all that? or
the
is that-
badges, we can refurbish some off the old uniforms.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, that would, for the most, we're still, I gave you the last of our patches, the new ones.
Mhm.
So we would have to purchase patches, I don't have to pay $300
Would that be a good community breakfast?
That's what I'm trying to like decipher
To-
which parts of these would be good community breakfast ones.
That might be a,
Because we want to get the community involved a little bit more. We know that, like we've said a dozen times, there are sales tax that goes into the departments. There's a lot of things that we could work together to do. So,
Sure.
yes, I mean, I feel like uniforms could be something like that, but I don't want to write them off the budget at the moment until we really dig in. Because basically, what we're doing with this is we're getting your wishes, your wants, and your needs lined out. Lana's listening. What she'll do is she'll plug these numbers in, come back and say, this is what I believe the budget can sustain.
Yeah.
And then what did we shave off? What can we do as a community together to provide? Or do we have to just do without for this next year? Is that what I'm? Okay.
Yes.
Something I was getting her to write down, we got stuff in the parking lot, our computer in the bullpen in the main officer area, Dan Fox said that it's outdated and it's really hard. We can't print without turning the internet on. It's so outdated, we have to shut the internet off on the computer to be able to print on. And Tony came to look at it, and he said, yeah, you're doing it with a dinosaur. So it doesn't have to be a fancy police computer, just something that is more updated with more RAM.
So just a
Just a
stand-up
Yeah,
computer
HP
system.
and I don't know which
system.
ones.
Do those run like a couple grand? Seven or eight? Seven or eight, what? 700? I haven't bought one.
it's probably 500 or less.
Really? I usually buy one laptop.
I know computers have gone way down.
Okay.
And they're usually not that.
It's a little box.
Okay. I use laptops, guys, that's why, and then I'll plug it into a big screen or what have you, but my laptop's in my bag right now because everyone's working, so I'm used to that. Okay, so that's something we need to budget in then.
And that'll go through Tony, correct? And your camera system would probably need to go through Tony as well, don't you think?
I
Because that's.
That
what we
computer,
had to
you
do
could
with
put
this.
sand.
Yeah, I don't think we have to purchase it through Tony.
I mean, at least he needs to be aware, so it will be compatible with everything else that we have.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
I don't know that your camera would need to go through them too. I think you're talking just like a
Yeah, because,
regular camera that sits up and puts it in an SD disc.
similar to that, yeah, it'll have its own drive, so. And some of them have a monitor, some of them don't, just,
There's the limit.
Are you wanting to link it through the internet or just have it on an SD card?
no, it's just something. SD card, disk, zip drive.
Yeah.
I don't know that we can
You just turn it on as you need it.
Yeah. It's gotta have a time and date
Here's
stamp
what
on
I'm
the
afraid the
screen.
time is coming.
That's the issues.
It'll be like a penny quarter.
Yeah, pretty much,
Set up.
which is what we did in the beginning. We used to get the pause and turn the book, turn it back on.
I
Nice.
think we got a good idea of that. Any other questions for Rico? Any other questions, Lon, for Rico?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Next one listed here is court.
So the budget for court pretty much remains the same. I think the only big expense we've had recently, and Steve and I were just talking about that, was a laptop last year. There's not a lot of equipment that she needs. If anything, training might be an expense. And I think that 600 would probably cover any training that she would need. And that would be for travel. The state doesn't charge for training, just the travel and the stay usually.
And we've still got it in like the court training.
Mhm, yes.
that we- yeah, we should.
On our dues, subscriptions, and contracts, it really went way over the budget from last year. Why did it do that? What caused it to do that?
No, let me look at that, because that's a great question.
So it's 7181. Not that I'm nitpicking, because I mean, we went way under on the building repair and maintenance, so we're just curious.
Board bills.
Oh, nonsense. And then one other question on, why do we pay laggers on it?
A portion of my salary is paid out of court, 5%, and so
I gotcha.
So that's your portion for the year for him?
Yes.
Got it.
Any other questions out of the council?
Well, on the tickets, we start entering those ourselves, is that out of my budget or court?
So currently for prosecutorial fees, the PD does cover that portion of it. So it would save you money.
Okay.
I'll make a copy really quick of what Tim gave me earlier. And then that way you guys have these numbers in front of you. I had a very good conversation with Tim earlier. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Tim.
Tim's stuff's all chiseled, he's old, how do you make a copy of it?
Yeah, it's slow. Do what?
I said, Tim's is all chiseled in stone, how do you make a copy of it?
I came in, he had pieces and stuff of his. One of the big things that impressed me, honestly, I love to hear this out of any department head. His statement was, we have a really nice facility, and we have really nice things, however, there's wear and tear every day, and each thing gets a little bit older. I don't want to become stagnant. And I thought, that's the way we should always look at things. We should always look and say, this is good now, how can we make it better, and how can we maintain it? The big thing is maintaining and making sure that we don't end up 10 years down the road and Tim's like, shoot, I need this, and this, y'all need to hand it to me today. And that's what's scary is if you have somebody that's proactive and really paying attention to these things, they can keep it up. And it's not a huge major expense. And then we can nitpick things a little bit and get grants if we need to and have community breakfasts and keep those things going. I was impressed with our conversation, not trying to throw anything crazy out there. But okay, so what's on my list here, I added the word training on the top. His comment to me was there's 10 hours monthly, which is, it's kind of scribbled on there, I'm sorry, but approximately one training a month he would like to pay his employees for, or his volunteers for. He said they're doing trainings, but they never get paid for the trainings. Knowledge is very important in his field, and there's no way they can do their job without having some training. So that was one of the things. Let's see what we budgeted in last year for training.
See, a big part of that is you're taking up so much Saturday.
Yeah, Saturdays, he said Saturdays and sometimes, oh, I wrote Sunday, I'm sorry, it's supposed to say Saturday mornings and sometimes Monday nights.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, like I said, you're saying the time you're taking up someone's Saturday, and so that's.
So in the past, it shows that there are no training expenses, and I said, well, what about paying for the training itself? He said a lot of the trainings are free trainings, but it does take somebody's time, and that's their volunteer time. Like you said, they're taking up a Saturday from their family, away from it, and they're not getting compensated. There's altruism goes a long ways, but sometimes we have to meet those altruistic moves to show our appreciation too. and that's kind of what he's looking for on that. The next thing on the list, refurbished AED. That is, I don't know how to explain it any better than it's a heart. It restarts hearts if needed.
Yes, it's like a defibrillator.
Defibrillator, thank you, I couldn't get the word, but he was saying a refurbished one is just as good as a brand new one. The brand new ones run, the thing here, it says 1934 for a brand new one, but he was shooting for a refurbished one, correct?
Yeah, 1100.
1100.
Same warranty.
Do we currently have one? I'm sorry, Mary.
We have one, and that's thanks to the police department.
You keep it,
And then Rico, how many does the PD have?
Looks like a lunchbox.
How many does the PD have?
I don't know how many work. There are 2 down there, but they've never worked since I got there.
Can they be sent in to be refurbished?
That was something that was done once upon a time, according to Levin when he was still here. He said they sent it back and it still didn't work.
I'd not be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be one here in City Hall as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Which the one of the PD, if we have 2 of the PD, we can get them fixed. I don't have a problem with one coming to City Hall.
they used to have them in the vehicles with the PD, and,
Get on the list of the cars. right?
uh-huh, yeah. And then those that he currently has could be refurbished and redistributed, maybe.
Okay. So, on that list, that should be like a goal, we can, instead of budgeting something like that in, go ahead.
There is grants for them.
Okay.
They didn't get it last year, but there is grants for AEDs.
Okay, I would never write off the opportunity to try to get a grant on that. So I would say, don't write that off. I would not go ahead and budget them in if the PD can get them through that and ship them to you, is the best way to do that. You said you have one right now.
Correct.
Okay.
Also possibility of talking to someone on the Newton County Ambulance Board, since we would be responding as first responders to the Newton County Ambulance, and that would be, we would be using these defibrillators.
We could discuss it with them. I'm no longer on the board because it was pointed out that it might be a conflict of interest. So I resigned.
Rewrote that. Please.
I've resigned from the board, but I know a few people. I could put out a word and see what they say.
Because I'm not sure that they didn't help with the first ones we ever had.
I'm concerned, Tim, if they're telling you that the refurbished ones are good as new ones, but then Rico has some that are refurbished that aren't working.
Well, I'm sure I didn't.
Well, what my concern is about this is, okay, if you send it in and they refurbished it, it comes back, it's not working, what was the next steps taken? I mean, so
Send it
that's what I'm
back in.
saying.
Yeah.
You send it back in or you discard them. If you don't keep something sitting around that's a life-saving thing that might not work and your officer
Somebody
might grab
grabs
the
it.
wrong one.
I just actually found them probably 2 months ago. They were stuck in the storage room where all the stuffed animals are, on a top shelf, where a normal height could see them.
So I think what I would do is I would.
What's normal, right?
Not me.
Well, that's how he did it.
What I would totally recommend is let's go back through this process. Let's see about sending them in or what we need to do. If they come back not fixed, we either send them back and say fix them correctly, or we discard them, whatever we need, whatever decisions are made.
The only problem we have there is they have like a 3-year warranty.
They have a 3-year one.
Yeah, so hopefully, we did one guy quite a bit. You don't use them that often. I mean, you might be 3 years before you ever hook it up and then realize this thing don't work.
So is that warranty extended past the refurbishment too? Because I can't imagine buying one new and having to have it refurbished in 3 years. Do you see what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, but I'm saying the warranty on a refurbish
It's 3
is the
years.
same warranty that you get on a brand new one.
I
So it
understand,
just brings the warranty back up to date.
once it's refurbished.
Have you checked? No,
I did not know you could send them in to be refurbished.
the PBT, the old one, the police department, to, man, 25 years ago, Jim Parks and the Osho and Farmers Insurance Group bought the PBT for the police department. And it's like their agents put in so much money that they will donate for community, that maybe a defibrillator would be part of that if someone checked with their insurance, that like Shelter and State Farm, I know Farmers had it.
State Farm gives away a $500 grant a year.
Okay, I know that, like I say, when I asked him that, you know, he's like, what do you need? And it was when we first started the police board. I said, the police department wants a PBT. He called me 2 days later, here it is. You know, the local farmers agents bought you a PBT because DWI enforcement saves us money. A defibrillator may save them paying money on life insurance or something that they may look at.
Yeah. Okay, the next thing that, that is on his list is 5 TICS ticks. And I'll just pass, I'm sorry?
Ticks. They
Ticks,
call
yeah.
them ticks.
What is it? Tick.
It's a thermal imaging camera,
So.
but they're handheld, like that wall. Me or Jim could walk up to it and find a hot spot in that wall that you would never see or hear. It helps us find where the fire is. And I actually like to see every one of my officers have one. Actually, it has, we used it on a manhunt once because it'll pick up heat.
Oh, yeah,
We
yeah.
actually, it picks up heat range, but it'll pick someone up lost or running away where they can't find them. Hide in the weeds.
So how, what's the
Actually, county got
distance
one.
probably? Like,
They cost $700.
well, I mean, what's the distance it would pick, like you were saying, someone hiding in the brush or whatever?
The large one we have, what would you say, 150 yards?
Who reach out there, yeah.
Wow.
So how many do you currently have?
One.
One.
It's 23 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
It was there way
Oh,
before
wow.
I was.
If we couldn't do 5, but we could do 3 this year and 2 next year, I mean, would you be willing to settle for that?
I got settled for whatever I did.
Well, I know, but
Just say no to.
How much did you say they are each? Oh, they're right here in front of me, sorry, 700. Not with this week, guys. The next one I feel that I really, really strongly about is that gas detector. You explained it on
It's a CO, picks up, Jim has one, but we get called all gas calls. It'll pick up CO2, radon, methane gas, all of that.
is that something we could justify the gas fund
That's what I was
purchasing?
No.
Because we got one too. I think
Yeah.
it's about $500.
You guys put free gas in it.
Like
Free
this
gas
one
in the
says
gas.
it's 4. But yeah, I would think that we could move that to that department because it is very important. Those
And it's
are-
a gas call typically is what you would use that on, correct?
Yes, that would be the reason.
Other than they don't need to be doing leak investigations.
No.
That's part of part.
True. If I find a gas leak and you're not available, I can shut the gas off.
That would
But
that
I
would come
guess
back
what I
to
was thinking
where
is-
might not be drug tested.
I guess what I was thinking is, okay, I can picture somebody calling 911, somebody's on the floor unconscious, and they come in and they say, kind of smells like something off in here. I know you can't smell CO, but CO2 or whatever, you can't smell
You
that.
get a lot of them calls too.
But they come in, if they, at least they can rule that out very quickly, that could be the problem, and that.
Well, and two, on the gas part, they can walk in and it goes off, says, yeah, you got a gas leak, and then back out.
Back out.
Don't do an investigation, just back out, turn the meter off, say, so we,
That's what we do,
You know,
and then we leave it to them. We shut off the gas if we,
Yeah, I didn't picture citizens calling saying, hey, I think I might have a gas, and he needs to come and check this out. I pictured it more like your volunteers walking into a situation, not knowing exactly what's going on, but thinking, maybe this is a gas leak, or maybe somebody's, that's kind of how I pictured
Yeah, you
it.
see on the CO with our
like the city, not the.
Yeah, city.
Yeah, yeah, so I do think, but I do think yes, like, since it is gas detection, yeah, we would do that, so that, yes.
That would be a deal, because I need one too. I need it. Mine's, I don't know how mine is.
Vests, these are the vests that he's looking into, just kind of identifies the person. Once again, walking into anybody's house is scary anyways. You don't know what you're walking into. And if they had a vest that clearly said fire on it, or they're standing out in the road directly
It's in the
traffic.
roadway that would be used.
So reflective.
Traffic, or, you know, anytime you can identify your people very quickly, I feel like it's important.
And they sell this shirt, is this fire, has the fire symbol on it.
That does.
Southern
Thank you.
Uniform,
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. These are $10 each vest, $200 for 20 of them, is basically what he's looking for.
Nice.
And then can you explain the pump test to them and why you think it's important?
Our big rigs, we have pump tested. To stay in ordinance with the state, they have to pump so many gallons per minute. They don't come around and check you or anything like that. It ain't mandated. I mean, it's mandated, but it ain't enforced. If we get out on a scene and our pump goes down, the property owner, say they had a small kitchen fire and it burns down their house, they can actually come back on us for faulty equipment. And we went bi-yearly on this. It's an insurance account to the city saying we do have ours tested. It passed the flow test, the pump test and all this.
Well, it goes down, it's just because it broke, but you have.
Right,
It's
that
working.
it was under regular maintenance and it had been tested.
Why was you sitting in with, when I was answering questions for the gentleman here the other day on the insurance?
I don't think I sat in on all your,
So he was asking about the pump test.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's part of our insurance.
Requirement. So that's about the pump test. Vacuum cleaner, just a simple vacuum cleaner for the carpet in the fire department. He's feeling like he wants to do some cleaning down there.
You're gonna clean it yourself?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was like a better vacuum cleaner.
Then I got.
It's ancient. 2 med bags. These, she has a paper of these. I can pass that around so you can see they're just loaded. This is kind of like this now, but just a loaded med bag for these people to bring in. It's 2 of them for $260 together, I believe.
so do you have to be certified in any way to carry those? I know we have a,
The EMRs, there'll have to be a couple of items out there that I'll have to remove.
okay,
Yeah, there is items in there that they're not allowed.
thank you. Can I keep these?
If you buy those, whoever you buy them from, will they come check them?
No,
You have to,
you have to do it. It's just like we do with Newton County now. You keep eye on your oxygen, all your stuff. And then ambulance board replaces what you use if they have it on their truck. You try getting it.
so if
the
it
same time.
expires, you have to check it, no one comes by and checks them for you.
Right.
Okay.
You have to inventory your go bags after you use them to make sure they're good to go?
Yes.
Supposed to.
Yeah.
And actually, before the ambulance ever, say we use 4C colors, generally, we get everything back off the ambulance before the ambulance ever leaves the scene, if they have it. If not, I go to headquarters over at Neosho
Refill.
and refill.
Okay. Maintenance, just general maintenance of vehicles and things like that. He's budgeted $5,000. He feels like that would be sufficient. Does not need new tires or anything like that.
Not tires or anything like, that's like for oil changes, if one needs brakes, general maintenance.
Would this be overall on your building and equipment or just equipment?
Equipment.
Okay.
And then the booster for the upstairs, he's got a question mark because he's not sure that that is a.
I need Granby Telephone to come in and wire up upstairs where my smart TV is for videos and stuff.
Netflix?
I was going to say
No, I
that.
got that downstairs. I ain't walking upstairs, no. We have a smart TV up there, but it won't pick up off our Wi-Fi
Would that
upstairs.
just not be a call to GTC, they come up and?
Yes, but there will be a charge.
So what
That's
about,
why the question mark.
what about, I assume you use MiFi over there, or no?
No.
Okay. Have you tried that? Or Jim had a booster at the maintenance barn that he bought at Radio Shack one
That's
year.
with our phones and stuff.
Yeah,
But they acted like,
that wouldn't work.
yeah, Kim and Johnson, she looked at it,
Okay.
and he was talking, I'm computer illiterate, that something about hardwiring something up to that room for reception and everything else.
I'm not sure. We have our internet, when my aunt was getting a little worse, we put a box in her house where we could see her, you know, and she doesn't have internet, but we put a booster in her window. And it went from my mom and dad's house, it would go over to that booster and then into her little box so we could talk.
And I don't know if it's due to the metal building,
Mhm.
because everyone,
Had to.
everyone loses phone service if they're up in
Yeah.
that room.
Is there a window up there?
Uh,
Is there a window up there?
That looks out into the bay,
Oh,
but
okay.
not
Okay.
external window.
So you just need to go talk to them and find out what that cost would be?
Yes.
If you've got a box, what I have at my house, I've got cable one or as far as I know, I couldn't get out to my shop, which is just up here across the street away. And I called Cable One at the time, they came out and gave me just an amped up box. And now I can watch TV in my shop, I can get perfect service out there, $4.
So basically the same
GTC
thing,
has
calling
that.
up that GTC, yeah.
If the Linksys and the, I can't remember the other one, the little ones you buy at Walmart don't work near as good as the
And
actually.
why they might hardwire it in me, because it's in the same building and not.
Not across the thing.
Right.
And then the other, so he didn't have a whole lot of major expenses in that. He does have a couple of big expenses, and I think I overshot that carpet. I don't know why I did that earlier. I'm now processing that, but the building is, we figured about $45,000 on the building. I did say, because we have that worksheet that we talked about, I'd like to sit down within next week or so, go through that entire worksheet, what has to be done, to take down that building and build a whole new building so that they can heat it and keep it, the fire trucks from freezing up in the wintertime. And then actually utilizing that space, because that building's going to fall under the dangerous building code. And if we're gonna enforce it, we're gonna enforce it on ourselves too. So we're gonna have to do something with it.
Would we be able, I mean, that, to go ahead and advertise, if somebody wants to do the demolition on it for material, for the product, and for the metal and stuff? So I know a lot of people tear barns down and stuff for the metal.
I don't know what's the council.
You know a guy?
There's a lot of them out there, and that corrugated tin now with the crafters and everything is gone crazy.
But,
But you'd have to
I
make
would
sure
warn
that they
council
take everything
that
and
you'd
not
have
just
to have
pieces.
everything in order to have that building back. Because even in the summer, the equipment we have in there, if it's set outside, there's leaf blowers, they'd be picked clean. Because there is
That's kind of a council
hand
security.
equipment. Yeah, security.
Yeah,
There's
that's-
chainsaws and everything
That way,
else.
when you get it set that way, if it does get approved, we say, okay, you've got 30 days to get this building down. And then the other contractor, you've got, in your bid, you've got to have this building up. We can't lollygag around, we've got to have it up.
Because I figured, if it took, that one company said it takes 3 days to build a building. I was thinking about utilizing their garage
Oh, yeah.
for like the brush trucks and stuff. Just during,
Unacceptable.
And in the time of the year,
well, if you wouldn't have let that get in such
we
disposal.
put our things outside, out in the winter time.
Okay, in your bays over there too?
Yeah, I can open up 2 bays at our shop.
The brush trucks, we could fit a couple of those in the patrol cars and sit outside if need be for that time.
Okay, well, so it sounds to me like you guys are gonna teamwork this really well. That'd be kind of a council decision whether they want to put it up for a bid for people to tear it down. We'll put that on an agenda in the future, so they can kind of, mull that over. But he would like to utilize some of the savings to actually build that building back. And then carpet, I put 5,000, I don't know why I did, it was supposed to be, say, 1,500, is what I was thinking, that's max, because I put carpet all the way through this other building over here for $1,500 for the whole front, what I'm thinking. I know a guy that sells the carpet and installs it.
Who wants to answer
The
Shaq?
carpet in there's been there since the building's been built. And I've shampooed it. I have shampooed it 3 times this year.
It's shot.
It's stained and everything else, and it's a public building, people,
We have a nice, like this carpet, this repaired, that you can take a square out.
I would prefer something darker. They went that light blue in there for some reason. A darker colored wood help. Been on a fire, one of the guys walk in with their bunker clothes still on, there's crap all over their feet.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like 1,500. He does not have a quote for that, but if
I
we were
don't
to
have a
budget.
quote. It was one of the wish deals just to keep the building looking nice.
Yeah, what is it, about 400 square feet?
And I figured it was 12 by 16 in one and 16 by 20. I didn't measure it, but just kind of looked like it.
Would you be better with like a laminate floor that you can buy?
The problem there is that people come in, like we got floating floors upstairs. Then you got the liability if someone from outside comes in with wet feet. I mean, that's why I like the carpet ideal over the wood.
And our fire chief's kind of old, he falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 512.
I have a judge that stops by that,
Well, he cleans up after himself.
And then last but not least, Tim would like the council to know that he has brought in about 90,000 in grants over the last year, brush truck, skid unit, is that one?
between the 3 departments.
I was going to say, did some of that through East Newton?
Yes.
Because I show 14.5
14,500.
here.
And then, right, 2,500
For where?
on, you should have got, have you just got your reimbursement check from Missouri Conservation?
The only one I show is Department of Public Safety, and it was 14.5.
Okay, you might check with Carrie, because I know last week East Newton got their
Okay.
half reimbursement back from Conservation.
And how much do you think that's going to be?
It should have been anywhere from $1,300 to $2,500, I can't remember.
Okay.
But you should have, because they got theirs last
They
week.
get a check or they get a direct deposit, you know?
They got it. No, you just told me that now.
Okay, that's fine.
So I knew why,
That's fine. I'll go looking for it.
but like I was telling Jamie, whether the city buys it or the district buys it, it benefits the fire department. They bought a brand new brush truck along with the grant that I got them for skid unit. So I felt like about a $90,000 upgrade, I guess, would be maybe the proper word.
So he's going to formally request that his pay goes from 38,000 to 42 this year. So that would be something that the council needs to think on. And that would be something that we have budgeted in after we discuss with the, because the fire contract is up. Have they contacted us, Lana, with the fire contract being up July 1st? Do we contact them?
Typically, I believe the previous mayor reached out to Steve.
Okay,
I'm happy to get in touch with him, but
I can reach out to them. So I'll write that down.
Of the 42, does the city pay it all? Does the fire district pay?
Well, it's kind of,
Yeah, no.
yeah, no.
The city will pay his salary. The fire protection assists us in paying for all of the equipment,
Their expense.
the
city's expense.
expenses.
Okay.
Because we are basically carrying their stuff and we're doing their duties. And we are paying for a chief while they are helping assist us with the other costs.
So we get a fire chief cheap,
Yes,
very, very cheap in the end.
their contract right now is $36,600.
Yeah. So you
And
get
then
lots,
the thing you
lots
get-
of free equipment and a fire chief for $2,000 would be $6,000 if it went up to $42,000.
And what they're saying, you get what you pay for.
And that's true.
How's it going with the insurance companies? Have you started that? Once you go on a
I
fire?
have fire first.
Well, that's good news. No fire.
We have not had a structure fire
Good.
yet.
That's good news.
Yeah, no, we never use it. Yeah, just like
Exactly.
those AEDs.
Yeah,
It's nice to have them, and know you have them, but hope we never use them.
I
exactly.
figure Tim's the only one we're gonna need to use it on, so.
Can't use it on me.
You can.
Oh, we can.
Watch this.
You'll be running faster than you've run in years.
And then maybe we make up the YouTube video.
And I don't know. With that, just out of curiosity, I don't believe we need to vote on this today because it'll come back to, you'll bring that in, and then when we do the budget, then we can make those decisions.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's food for thought, so you guys can calculate, think on it. He mentioned it before, and I apologize, I have not brought it to the council to discuss it for them to really mull it over. I felt like this was a great opportunity to go ahead and bring that to them, especially when they're looking at the numbers, okay? Any other questions for Tim? Okay. I guess I haven't even asked you guys. You guys don't have any other questions for us, do you? I feel like
Did you care?
we're done. Okay, Parks.
Yeah, you can leave. I mean, like, what?
No, I want you to stay. Unless there's something pressing. It's very helpful to see you guys work together like this and to know that we can
It was,
intertwine stuff, yeah. Sorry, dude. Okay, Parks.
I'm gonna go visit the son.
I'm assuming you guys kind of discussed this a little bit the other day. Yep. As far as parks, gym and all that. So what we have, anybody have, who you talked to? Bill?
I talked to Louis,
What are our, what do we need to know about parks?
well, I know his want, which I actually think was really a need, but I think he's kind of thinking he's gonna have to put it off, but I still think it needs to be looked at somehow, because I went out there and he's wanting to put up like an office with like a portable shower,
Wash basin.
wash basin, which is just runoff, so no sewer.
Are you talking recycle center?
Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
my bad.
We can focus on recycling.
Yeah, which is
Next
still
week.
kind of, connected to park, but I, personally, I think it needs looked at. I know I don't want to say he'd give up on it, but from conversation, he thinks it's not doable. But I wanted to check personally just to see if this is something that could be budgeted, like even like a little bit like through general or something. I didn't know how that worked. Or, our ARPA, would that help with anything like that?
See, the buildings and everything out there, you go through reading grants.
Which are less and less all the time. Some of the thought, like the parks taxes, about $900 to $1,100 a month kick. So when it gets up to 12, 20, $30
think what, maybe the word kind of screwed him over a little bit, I think personally, was the railing came out of, and it was supposed to be picked up by TIF.
Okay, we keep jumping back and forth, I'm so sorry.
I'm
We
sorry.
gotta focus on one or the other.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, that's
So
where.
sanitation, let's focus on sanitation, I'm sorry. Recycle and sanitation,
Okay.
because that's what you're talking about, out there at the
Yeah.
recycle.
My bad.
Okay, so, no, you're fine,
Yeah.
I'm just, because what's gonna happen is it's gonna get all intertwined. So, when you talk about sanitation and recycle, your concern was because there is not an actual budget coming in for sanitation, that there's never any kind of, upkeep or anything like that. Is that what we're getting at?
Right.
Okay.
If we don't really fit into the budget, we rely on that grant, and, at some point, probably a realistic idea we need to think about is even, I guess, and I don't know what that do to the city, but the citizens, but shrink it to 3 or 4 days. I mean, the less and less money they're going to allow, since I've been in the middle of that, those years of 800,000, 900,000, now to just over 500,000. There's more people every year asking. So what they did to Region M, on our side of M, they took most of the grant applicants got their 1 or 2 employees, they didn't really get the grant or anything extra, and get fuel, anything extra for fuel. And so always grateful for what they give us, but it's always less. Same in Pete with the part of the Jordan L. Shore Joplin. I think Joplin has 70 employees up there from in and out. So it's, they let 3 different identities come in and take money from a different region, which they should
I
not
saw
ever
that.
allow.
What I didn't understand is there were several people in there
Yeah.
stating that were voting parties.
Yeah.
And that voting party just went ahead and said yes.
Yeah.
And I thought, why, and then you turn around and tell me that you weren't okay
Yeah.
with it. Why would you vote yes then?
Exactly. So, we lost money as a whole for a region to outfits that shouldn't. And I don't believe that if you're not, I don't think these guys are for-profit should be able to compete with us, but they are. So it is what it is on that. So realistic side, what I was talking to Gabe about, is I understand I'd rather have, money to do other things a little bit than, I can, been for years running by the seat of my pants, working out the pickup, so it just is what it is. I can always come in here and plop down for a couple hours if I've got Cliff, watching things. So,
How realistic is it to just have it open 2 or 3 days a week?
well, I think we would not know until we saw that hurt so bad. And then when you go for the next year's grant, and you're like, I have no ground to stand on because
Right.
now I'm not worth as much. I can't solidify asking for that when
Right.
you produce this.
I feel like we fared well compared to some of the others though, when I looked at that list. Your grant apparently scored quite a bit higher than several of the others. I mean, there was people who didn't get anything at all.
Right.
So, but realistically, I think what you're saying is we need to either.
For what we
look-
need, for what we ask for, we're not getting.
Yeah.
Or be that competitive.
My feeling is he needs to have some place out there to clean up. I mean, they're dealing with all kinds of waste products, and, yes. So some type of a cleanup basin or,
And the main concern too was that there is no sewer out there. So what you're talking about though is you're just saying something that washes
Emergency.
gray water right out into the ground.
Yeah, like you run up there and work yourself off a water hose, except not doing it for everybody.
Even if you put in a holding tank too, we could come out, suck it out, or suck it out.
Well, thank you, I didn't think of that part.
that's a good idea.
Kind of like an RV,
Yep. Because they're pretty cheap,
Yeah.
overall.
big heavy plastics.
Yep.
The fact that we have a shower at the PD and he doesn't, I could give it to him, I would, because he needs it a whole lot more than we do.
Yeah. So what was the cost base?
What was it, 10,
I think I can get it done for 10 or under. Yeah, right at that 10 mark.
And that would have to be something that would come out of general fund and not out of the sanitation, because sanitation does not have any kind of revenue that does that, just for the council's
Yeah.
understanding.
And I know that Lana's gonna look at that on her side, and it's gonna stress her out, so if I done it, that's honest. I mean,
True.
So, if that needs to be done in stages, then here and there, as she said, Joe, I think for this month's a good month, to be looking forward to that, then, we can do it like that.
Is there anything at Recycle that we can beef up, try to bring in more of, or is there anything we can do to increase your revenue to make it to these kind of projects? Is there anything?
So the mulch, and I've got this fall and next spring's mulching and composting. When people ask for it, it's never quite all the way gone. There's always just a dab left. But, I could sell that, by so much for a 5-gallon bucket, because some people don't need a lot, or so much for a scoop in the back of it. We could do stuff like that. But then they would need to come through here to get a receipt to come to me, and, they'd have to call up there and say, hey, you got this, or come by and see me, and say, oh, yeah, then get the receipt, pay the money to Lana, so I'm not handling money in a book and everything going on like that out there. And then, they show up and,
Yeah, doesn't the, like the greenhouses do it by the scoop? Like they dump it in your truck?
yeah, the ones that have that.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but yes.
So we can go to them, ask them what their prices are, and get a little bit lower
Yeah,
for us,
undercut
and
it.
it's
Yeah.
revenue.
Well, I mean, right now it's free, so.
Yeah.
Right.
You can cut it in half of what they're
Right.
at. Might get more people.
You would have to do it only on certain days though, since Cliff can't run the backhoe,
Well, that
right?
backhoe is just, he could probably run it, it's just the fact that Michael was out there the other day, and it's still, brakes, or you've got to know how to run a tractor and a backhoe, and you want to slam through somebody's car with it, because brakes are not too fast.
So maybe we need to really think on that before we see.
Yeah, I mean, I do it all, like, when somebody says they want mulch and they need a big old load, I do it, I don't have anybody else do it. Michael can do it, he's capable, but Cliff, I don't think, still did big machinery in several years like that, I think he does what it wants, so, I don't want it.
What would it take to fix the brakes? I would think
Well,
that's kind
Michael's
of a,
adjusting, I think that's just that tide and that old backhoe, it's a 1984 backhoe. I don't know, I hate to put a bunch of money into that thing.
How come we don't, like, ship these downward? Like, when the backhoe's done with the streets or what have you, how come we don't move them to?
Goes the trade-in value. See, that was part of the purpose we get the skid steer out there. See, I've got a skid steer. It can be used as load mulch and stuff.
So that-
Skid steer you can't get next to the pickup like you can on the backhoe sticks out. And then your skid steer run right up on the side of the car. So I don't ever use the skid steer to run mulch in somebody's vehicle.
It just seems like some of our utilities, they make revenue. And when those make revenue, if you have the opportunity to be able to move that revenue-making item to a non-revenue-making entity, then you can beef those other entities up. You know what I'm saying? Because there's always going to be, sections that are only ran by tax dollars. Your parks are always going to suffer. Your fire, your police, those are always going to be ran off tax, and they are very, it's finicky. Look at COVID. How did that affect your departments? It hurts. And so if there's a way we can be able to shift things, use items, that's what I would look into in the future.
And then just the general, Lana and my conversations about fuel and what she thinks we need to do there. I didn't really put much down because, thank the Lord, it's not $5 right now, but it's one of the other things we used to get from the grant that we don't.
That's one of the things I highlighted. The fuel expense went well over what was budgeted.
Yeah, it's one of the things that is not covered anymore.
And that's because you're picking up more cardboard in different
Yeah, I
areas,
mean, like
right?
Matt
Going
Burns
to-
text last night about bedtime said, fill that thing up, I know you just dumped it today.
Yeah.
So this morning we were swapping that out again, thankfully I had one swapping.
Is that, so do we make money off of that when you do that?
No,
No.
no, so what that does is it tries to solidify to the DNR
Mhm.
that we're important on that grant, that,
Because you're
that
bringing
service that
money
we provide. And so keeping that out of the landfill, so like, the phone calls I've got before, like, so let's say some bins go to Barton County, and they've got a lot of recyclable stuff out. Then I get somebody gives me a ring and says, hey, this is one of the Granby bins, and it had, you know, we think a couple thousand pounds worth of recyclables in it. And part of our tax base goes to the DNR grant that reimburse you guys to stay open. And so that's why, more so than ever, once I got to it, it's been important to me to be that watchdog and say, hey, I hear a bunch of cans rattling there, you can't do that. That's a recyclable thing that we mark on our deal that we collect here.
And I've seen you guys
Yeah.
really pick it apart when I
Yes,
was.
yeah, I mean, one day a guy brought 6 or 7 bags and he only was able to dump 2 because that dumped them for him to pull all the stuff out.
Yeah.
I mean, nasty, but it's part of being diligent to try to keep that thing to survive, to make sure that thing survives.
So since they're not providing the gas, and I know as a business owner, because I went through tons of cardboard, I would go up behind JJ's and drop mine.
Right, yeah. And
Is
so
there,
I have those, some of the people know in town that use those.
uh-huh. Is there a way, like, if businesses are using those to keep their costs down, because they are?
Right.
Like, it made it easier for me, because I didn't have to buy an extra trash
Right.
can. So is there a way for businesses to help with some of those costs, if
I
they have
mean-
something sitting outside their?
I guess we could talk to them and see if they were like, you know, if they jumped backwards and everybody said, well, come get your bin, then
That would be.
they just say, oh, well, we're gonna drop it this year. I mean, so I don't know. I know it's most everywhere, it's a free service.
Is it?
The giant one, Republic, which is part of the landfill, you know, they go around hustling, even McDonald's and everywhere else, setting up grease pits and little tiny cardboard things that they send trash trucks by to grab
Okay.
constantly.
I just didn't know, that's just a curiosity.
Yeah, but they're able to sell those because of their size. They have the things to break that down and get rid of it.
Okay, so basically with the sanitation, you would like to see that 10,000 on there for the shower.
Yeah, if possible,
And-
yeah.
okay.
And that is or isn't something that the parks can share the
Well,
expense
I
with
mean,
that?
that's another thought process. Am I going to retain the parks position from our talk the other day? You know, am I still going to be over parks as far as the budgeting, or is it things that I have a wish list for my parks and Jim has a wish list for his parks? Or, you know, what control there of that?
So what,
Do you want to
Why-
discuss this? We were Wednesday, Jim, Joe, and Lana and myself met. Jamie had an emergency, she couldn't be there. We were discussing whose responsibilities the parks are. Because a lot of the Jim's people are the ones doing a lot of the mowing in the parks. So I don't know how
are
we
we
would.
talking about these
Yeah.
Yes.
two here? Because
So-
you mow down there,
If
right?
he's considered our parks guy, you would assume that he is maintaining our parks, which is not the case. So we're discussing how we would divide that sensibly and budgetarily to make that where the parks money's not really Joe's money, other than the ballpark, which is what, you know, that ballpark and the community building is what he's really been focusing on and maintaining through his department. Whereas Jim's group has been maintaining the parks that the public utilizes within the city.
There's no payroll that we can justify through the parks to pay for the, you got to keep the mowing and all the things like that. So Jim has extra manpower, and I've got me. and
Where are they at?
I've got him. Well, not right now, but he's got a few. We've got a few more.
It's coming up Monday, right?
So, I don't have a David or somebody running around that's outside
have a revenue.
Right.
You are running a facility that is a utility, which is
Right.
designed to generate revenue. So there's just
So
no, there
that's
is no
up to you
comparison.
guys on how that works, not me.
So it is a complicated task, to be able to keep the amenities going for your community, because the community, these are for the community, they're not necessities, they're amenities. And we want those amenities, because it brings in more people, which brings in more revenue, which brings, you know, I mean, it's supposed to like spiral up into a better thing, but. Well, the revenue does come minimally for rental of the community building and the ballpark as far as the leads and stuff. And we've talked about generating more ideas to bring in more income through the parks and the community building, but we just have to get those solidified. We can't bank on that until we've built them up.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
10 or 15,000 versus what I made, and it's not close. And then there would be nothing left for repairs.
From what I'm seeing though, your summer ball income is up.
Yes.
It was over the budget, so that's good. I'm very concerned about the old Mining Town Days income. And I want to tell you, I was very disheartened to field a phone call message. Actually two, I got a message and a phone call from a business owner. And I've talked to two business owners. They're disgruntled.
Okay.
Their
Excuse me.
new, the ads in the old Mining Town Days, one company was completely left out.
Yes.
And they felt like that our city was picking on them. And then, and I couldn't even justify that you were a new business because a new business was on the front page.
Yeah.
And so I had to explain to them that I have had others, like I had JJ's also state that no one came to them and theirs was old. So the old Mining Town Days income is what I'm thinking that some of these ads is the reason why it was dropped down.
Well, not all the ad money's in yet. And also the, JJ's been running the same ad, and Steve Burnett went to, and talked to him. And so I said, yep, I got it. And so, I mean, there was, someone there, I can go to JJ's, but like two businesses that are left out that I know, weren't meant to be left out. One was because it was on my timeline. My timeline is not like juggling everything that I juggle. It's everything combined in the spring. I have to work on those in the fall, late summer, fall. So if they came in later, after that point, I did not go back to them. And so, yes, there is a couple we miss.
So maybe just making sure that we are delegating to others.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, I personally, as a business owner, I wouldn't have bought one in the fall for
Yeah.
the next year.
Yeah.
Anyways. I would have waited until probably February or March to buy my ad, to be honest with you.
Right.
So just making sure that you're doing that, and then making sure, because your income is there's a very big discrepancy on that one.
Right.
So, and I don't know what the cause is for that, besides, I just know that that's one little entity that I've had to handle, especially this week, this rather frustrating. So.
We actually had a conversation, and I've suggested to Joe that, of course, I know we've talked about and we want to rebuild committees, and we want to, Joe could be the connection between city and committee, but he does not have time to do his job and run the Old Mining Town Days event. So we suggested and talked about in the meeting that we had that we remove that from his duties. He may be the contact, but he should not be the one in charge because he's working a full-time job, and that is a substantial amount of time that's dedicated to that event. So,
Especially the ball field coming in.
yes, the timing is horrible for his position as well, which is why he said he was getting the advertising done in the fall, because that's when it was convenient for him.
Right.
It might not be convenient for
I
the
mean,
businesses
there
that
are
want
some
to do
ads,
this.
I pulled a couple strings for here at last minute, but it was hard doing that because we'd made, through the winter, had program things. And so I said, hey, if you've got this, that left, I have this, that if I can throw that in there. And so in election years, when we are up in election years, our ads are up, the parade is up. When it's non-election year, we are down the way. And so, I mean, that's just typical, the way that runs.
And I'm sorry, we didn't get a chance to brief you
Yeah,
on what
that's
was
my fault.
discussed, but I think there's a lot of people that would probably agree that those months are solid. He's busy. People are bringing more to the recycle center during the summertime months because people are cleaning their yards and things. So taking Old Mine Town Days away from him means we need to restructure the committee, which is what we've been trying to discuss.
Yeah, we've talked about that, yeah.
So when we restructure the committee, I would love to see, and because I was told after we had a meeting that council members shouldn't be on committees, and I disagree with that
I disagree
wholeheartedly.
too.
So I think we need to go a little more heavy on that conversation with the committee so we can take our guys work hard. And to throw something that big and important to the city on somebody that's already strapped for time is going to, it hurt us this year for Old Mine Town Days as far as revenue. So not that we don't appreciate your efforts, Joe, but I just feel like that at this, right now, you're strapped to do your job. So
I won't argue.
taking that away is, it should be a benefit. That'd give you more time to focus on the things that could bring revenue in a different area.
Yeah, I don't think it should be like a disrespect.
No.
you know,
No.
Not at all.
Yeah, Jamie,
Because
has
you worked hard on
any of your businesses mentioned anything about revenue being down with the move from the fourth weekend to June? Because I know we've got one here that has.
Yeah, no, as
Yeah.
far as the others, I have not. Have you heard from any of the businesses that the revenue?
I've not asked that specific question, but like we talked about in our meeting, we're not selling fireworks, which is a revenue for us. From 2 different tents that we're not gonna have this year because we've moved Old Mine Town Days. And from a lot of people, I know it's like, yeah, we had great years. That I think might have been a fluke. And I feel like bringing Old Mine Town Days back to July might be something that really needs to be heavily discussed.
And, well, this is kind of off the topic though, because like I said, I fielded some great constructive criticism, but I was upset to see the cars driving between the cars that morning. And I got Rico's group in trouble, because I said, and I never said block the road. I said, make sure that they know that it's strongly suggested to take Beaver, because nobody wants, I mean, I was panicking. It
I'm just
made me
glad you
nervous.
left me out.
Huh?
You left me out of, you let Rico take that.
I thought in the meeting before Mine Town Days, though, it was discussed that the roads would be blocked,
except for semi.
except for semi.
It was,
That was just
but,
for the run.
but anyways,
That was just for the run.
yeah, we
That's not what was
misunderstood,
discussed
yeah.
in the, or the meeting before, though, was it would be blocked from such and such time
I
to such
will
and such time. And it
personally
wouldn't be
not.
opened back up until after the car show, is what was discussed in the meeting.
I will personally not be involved with the car show next year
If it's down this way.
if it's on Main.
I
have
gotta say,
had millions
it's
of
panic.
complaints.
I don't want to be
You'd
there.
rather go back to the park?
The ballpark has shaded areas,
And if it doesn't, they
You
bring
had-
canopy tents that they have
yeah.
a place to put them.
but then you had kids riding, I got on several, riding little scooters.
I know.
Now,
'cause
you're
I have
talking
people
over
that-
$100,000
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
The
People that
kids-
brought their cars said they wouldn't come
I-
back if it was here again.
Right.
Okay,
I
let's-
lost some because they told me that last year.
I personally-
And they did win back.
We're definitely gonna revamp that, so we're gonna focus back on, so it's no hard feelings on Joe of us changing any of this, because we feel like, once again, it goes back to that, when you get freed up in some of those areas, you might be able to focus more on, maybe you could sell the mulch and you'd have a better way of advertising, time to do that, something like that. That way that your stuff is not suffering at the same time, so.
So at that point, would the Old Mine Town Days income come off of the parks budget or not, Melania? Might be a
You know, that
discussion
would be,
to have.
yeah, because it's,
I kind of want to question, would it be easier to put it like, something like the cemetery is? And just to see
Well-
how a budget falls out?
With the right committee, right work, it'll be like it was originally,
Yes,
self-sufficient.
it was self-sufficient.
It was not the city. I mean, it was just,
It might take us a couple of years to build that back up to be self-sufficient, but I think that's a great goal.
It's still an amenity that takes place in our parks, and if it does, you can set aside certain amounts and say, no, you can't spend this on your park stuff because this is Old Mining Town Days, but it's still, I think it's how it's called.
Yeah.
But you guys can get deeper on that.
There are some guidelines, and I can't recall off the top of my head, with regard to proprietary funds and governmental funds and what criteria they have to meet. And I don't believe that an Old Mining Town Days fund would meet criteria to be a standalone
Okay.
fund.
Okay. So parks-wise, what was the things that needed to be done? You said something about cutting those.
The parking lot, well, okay, that was one of the things there. On my priority,
Okay.
would add on to the side of the concession stand for storage. Then second, I've been working on slowly, but not there, because this year we had more people. But it's the parking at the ballpark. I need some more parking signs and parking blocks. The concrete parking blocks are like $20 to $25 a piece, depending on where you get them from. I'd like to have about 80. But those 80, I would also like to put a few here, keep people from driving off in the grass on Veterans Park, and gridding this out with some paint, so this is more organized. So that would be part of the deal.
20 times 80 is 1,600, just for the council to know.
I have to, I gotta call from dispatch.
Yeah, 25 is the top end of those, so that's why I figured $2,000, so I could,
$2,000.
yeah, so I didn't have.
So building onto concession stand storage, what was the approximate on that?
That's gonna be similar to like the, I have a bid for it, but it's like 12 to 14, so I put down 15, stay under that, and then do as much work as I can to shave it off some more.
Okay.
And then that money, I think, and I'll visit Lana, that I've got enough of that raised now through the concession that I can do that. For the concession.
Okay.
And that-
would be your number one?
Yeah, and the 1/8 stuff would be the upgrades to parking. And then anything, if we go down and have a walkthrough at Big Smith and some of the areas just past those gates, or that 30-foot gap or so, me and Rico walked through there, it's gone now, but there's just more and more, you see more than ever, it seems like, handicap or people with handicap signs or people with ailments that have to walk the entire length back and forth to get through a gap. And we don't have those right up front as you head along the playground, that side of it. So there's a lot of people crawling, literally crawling under them.
It's awkward.
Yeah, and,
Yeah, I've been jumping over it the last few years, and it's like I look at it and I'm like,
So-
so I try it again?
Try it though.
couple of spots. in
Okay, I'm
town
gonna do it, and then I make it, and I'm like, oh,
So
one of
Joe,
these years I'm not gonna be able to
Yes.
hop over that.
Maureen says she just was right under that, no problem.
You know, it is that, that's-
Yeah, she could probably.
I can limbo under that.
your concession stand add-on would be ballpark money,
Yeah.
and then the parking expansion or whatever, that would be your 1/8 sales tax, is that what you're,
Yes.
okay.
And the signs, get expensive on some of that, and like I was visiting with you, I'd like to order more signs, and so I have about 28 handicapped at different spots, 6 right here, 6 right here, that are close entrances for people who need to get up close. And so, grading that out, probably about $3,500 order bill.
For the parking and
Yeah,
handicap?
because I'll need those posts and those signs. Some of that I won't be able to screw on the fence, some of it I will.
Okay.
Are you talking ballpark or are you talking
Ballpark
park?
ballpark in here. That's around the community building,
Okay.
Veterans Park here. Those two together.
Because part of that 1/8 sales tax is for these parks as well.
Yes.
So
Yes, that's why we do it all at
that
the
has to
same
be
time.
divided.
I do it all at the same time.
The pipe rail at the Dixman Park needs replaced.
Yes, it does. Does the whole thing need replaced or portions of it?
I mean, a person could do a little bit at a time, if we possibly do that.
That's why I was talking about those 30-foot gaps.
people are driving up to that pavilion by the stairs that come down from Main Street. And how can we can prevent that? Because they're driving in there and tearing up the,
But some of those $20 concrete
Where-
slabs
where
there,
at?
they're driving over those.
the pavilion that comes down from the stairs, that
Yeah.
pavilion that's sitting there, I've been down there
Oh,
numerous
you mean
times.
people
Somebody
pull up
drive
on there?
right up to
Yeah.
that spot instead
Yeah.
of,
Yeah, I don't know, Jim, I don't know what, another
We
fence
run
for
them
sure.
off.
Can you
yeah,
just
you're
set up
off,
a
that
cable?
doesn't mean
And
they
they-
already tore up the grass.
Yeah, I mean, they drive off and on through there at times, but, yeah, I don't know. Drive a post once in a while, put a cable, then that's more to weed eat and mow around those. Parking blocks, I think they just pull up right, get it, and then on purpose in the grass.
It's something we can think about.
Yeah, you say you can't put them too far out, because then your food trucks can't park
Right.
down
I
there.
say we put no parking on the grass signs and write tickets.
Right, there you go. That'd be simpler.
I mean, it usually seems to be about the same,
The same people,
Yeah.
yeah.
so if they get that one ticket,
Yeah,
That's
that
the
sounds
best
good.
idea.
Can you do that with the streets there? Because if it's at that Beaver Street that comes across there, if you put that no parking sign,
we'll have that one written, no parking on grass,
yeah, no parking on the.
Because see, part of where they park there too, on up is, the property belongs to Jerry Hobson.
Right.
And they come in and pull in like
Yeah.
a regular parking spot, not parallel.
Okay, so number 1, concession stand, number 2, parking at the ballpark and up here, $2,000 for those parking space things, and then
Right.
handicap parking signs, Dick Smith Park and up here, 3,500? Is that
Yeah,
what it's like?
handicap at
Ballpark,
ballpark.
and not Dick Smith, though.
No,
That was ballpark.
we'll have to
And
use
up,
some,
and here?
yes.
And so that would be number 2. And then the rails.
Yeah, so railing, all right, 2 3/8 or 2 7/8. I know, once we cut any of it, you're not gonna be able to re-weld some of that, it's gonna be so brittle when you fire it back up, so that section will probably have to be redone, and probably have to have Jim's input, since these guys take care of it there, to see, his thoughts also, what he, or he might say 20, he might say 40 feet.
If we're gonna cut out a section and we've got a post already in the ground,
That's
can we not run a
those are-
cable through that
Well,
with eye hooks or no?
I mean, you could,
I mean, that's a cheaper fix, right?
yeah.
That's what I was talking about, instead of doing the top rail back on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because people sit up there, people fall, people,
Yeah,
kids run into
Just on
that.
cable.
As long as we don't cut no portion of any of the old pipe, that where it's got preheated, it's going to be no good.
Are you talking about a cable that can unhook and rehook, or are you talking
No,
about a
just-
chain that's?
just a
fixed?
cable all the
Like
way.
down here in my shop.
Okay.
I just feel like that'd be a little cheaper.
Yes,
Than
it
trying to
would.
hook
It
the
would.
pipe up.
It would,
Yeah, it is.
And
A
it'll
little
also,
kid
you
come
can
through
see
there
the
and
fireworks
clothesline
better
themselves.
without that cable, without that target there. If you stand there.
I feel like I interrupted you earlier, Dave, when I was like, we gotta figure out which one we're talking about. You said something about the rails up here.
Well, no, I think,
well, we spent the 19 something out of the parks account to do that, because it wasn't included in TIF.
Oh, we voted to utilize TIF money on that.
And then we, of course, had to fix the bathrooms, down there at the very end, which is another 4,500 on my part. So, I mean, there's $23,000 that gone in a hurry.
Hey, I'm
But-
trying to understand
But we
this.
do need it.
Is David Putman a certified electrician?
I don't know if he's certified or not. I don't know if he got that.
Okay.
Is there anybody on our staff that is?
Not certified.
Can that be in the job description for your first year wanting to get?
well, what
You have
about,
to pay them a lot.
No,
The city's
No.
not required to have a certified electrician.
They're not.
Or is
So
that?
as a
No.
suggested,
Yeah.
not required, suggested.
Yeah, we're not required, no, the reason I asked this is because we put up a meter hub and it was $2,000.
Yeah, parts and labor.
Yeah, and, you're not required to have a certified electrician do that, are you? I mean,
I don't know. I'll
Well,
check.
the power company would do the
they,
connection.
they do the connection,
Yeah.
but you're personally,
Right.
like, we've hooked up meter loops ourselves.
Joplin, you've got to have a certified, like you said, certified, city certified.
But we have no
To set
building
those.
codes.
Yeah.
Right.
When you don't have a building code, then it's not, you don't have to.
But yeah, I put up like down there for our firework.
Mhm.
The only thing they do is snap the meter in.
Yeah, that's all Liberty does.
They
They come
give
in
me-
and hook it to that hub.
Yeah.
That's what costs on that. So
Yeah.
those kind of things, we need to be looking inward if
For savings.
David can do those things.
Liberty's built down there, they dug and buried the underground
Right.
from the building to their pole. They done that.
Yeah, Liberty on the buried one.
Yeah, so the charge from Liberty, it was for the underground.
I'm not talking about the Liberty
He's
charge,
right
I'm
at
talking
the-
about
right
the
at the
$2,000 from the guy that did that
Right.
rock.
Right, because like Breaker, like the open container, they're doing their own work. They know how to do it, so they're doing their own work, so.
We've done it before.
Yeah.
We've gutted houses and.
Yeah, David could put the loop up.
So those are the kind of things, yeah, that's, see, we were talking about that, it's like, okay, well, what about this meter thing? I don't want an extra cost on, he was like, well, David knows how to do those, David used to work for an electric company. So those are the
Why
kind
didn't
of.
we utilize him instead of,
Not offered, and we're in a hurry, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, just if we sit down and
that's
talk
where we need to
about
open our lines of communication.
yeah,
Tim.
who can do what.
Tim does a bunch of electric.
Well, and that,
He does
that
a lot
work
of
order
waste
sheet
stuff.
too should take care of
Yeah,
all
we
that.
done-
Yeah, that work order sheet will help us on that, so, but yeah, those
We
are.
done the meter loop at the boundary.
Well, not when we bid it out now, but it was eventually on them.
Yeah.
It wasn't delivered.
Parts,
Yeah.
I mean, each little thing you buy is $200, $300, $400.
Yeah. Yeah, your parts too.
We can
is-
save on labor though, that would be
Yeah.
a benefit for everyone.
Yeah, so the
Well, I
bottom.
plan on
always
doing
have
any
to-
electrical we need on our other stuff. I mean, Cliff will do, which will be minor compared to that, but, you know, I plan on making any bid work into it.
Okay, so is there anything else we need to know about parts?
If you want to replace the door at Dick Smith Park on that bathroom, on that new set of bathrooms, that garage door, you know, if you guys want that done, because I think it needs to be done, don't you?
Tonight.
Yeah, we might have one, I need to measure it.
Okay. I'll tell you here what that is.
It's definitely an eyesore the way it is now.
Yes. It's $1,455 with labor and parts.
What size is it?
I think that's 9x7 or something.
We've got a 9x9. If it's 7 tall, you just take the panel, you have to take one panel out.
And where does that go?
The restrooms. And
And
then,
storage, the storage end of it.
yeah, the
Okay.
storage end up, and I'm pretty sure that we can rip and free-frame that old door and get, put a lock on there and put a door, fix that.
So how much would we budget for that if that's the case?
500.
500.
Plus, we need to look at,
And then that garage door is at 1455, I said,
we need to look at concrete
for the front.
for the bathrooms.
To make it handicap accessible.
Right.
Right.
And put a drain in before
Right.
we do that. So that the water won't, if the water washes down or around it or something somehow.
So it's dense and the drain.
Well,
Okay. We're gonna be here all day if we don't like move on, I'm sorry. I'm trying to. Okay, so let's jump to, what do we have? We'll come back to general. Streets.
Oh, I had Victor next.
Yeah, Victor next, we'll do Victor.
Be the last.
Okay. So Victor, you're proposing a 4% increase
For the, yes, utility rates.
because once we start digging, it's going to, we're gonna have to open up those bonds and stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get closer to that 2% of the median household income,
Okay.
level, which we're pretty close already.
Okay.
But I kind of proposed a 4% since we didn't do 2% back in, January.
January.
And then your voice will be a 4% increase.
Yeah, I was looking, come talk to Lano about a 4% increase on salary, payroll, in those areas.
Was our inflation rate this last year was 7 or 8 on that.
Yeah,
So
pretty
it's
high.
not even come close.
You know, like I said, for several years, the city had a, straight down the line, 4% increase annually.
Oh, yeah.
And then, probably mid-2000s, they got away with it.
Well, you just adjusted it right down that list, didn't you?
Yeah, as far as the,
To reflect the, what's your, on this, where it says testing expense pace, and then you only did 420, you budgeted 420?
yeah, I'm gonna look into that more because, that should reflect a lot higher. So I don't know if it's getting miscategorized or put in the wrong section. So I'm gonna get better details from Lana, because I know PACE testing or, our monthly test or quarterly test will be a lot higher than that 420.
And Carrie looked through her invoicing, and we have no invoices from
So
PACE.
for some reason, we're not
They're not
getting
billing
invoiced.
us, yeah.
So we may owe a big bill. So we're looking at that. I just thought it was getting lumped under something else by accident. So we'll try to work on that definitely today and find out why we're not getting invoiced correctly.
Are you requesting a part-time employee?
Yeah, what I put on over there was kind of a wish for a wastewater to pay for a third of the cost of an employee, splitting with gas and water. Talk to you guys about creating a more skilled position, somebody that has some electrical experience, mechanical experience. I know we got Michael right now, but we'd advertise and just want to discuss this more, kind of moving forward. So I was trying to make sure that, my budget would support it.
I'm asking because part of that would take away from the contract labor that you're having to pay out right now.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So that 5,000 could be back
Yeah,
down
I
to
just-
500,
Just kind of kept it up there just in case.
Sure.
And on that capital outlay, kind of down there, that item 7110, it shows 100,400. But 89,000 of that was items that were paid, I guess, with ARPA funds. 26,000 of the land purchase, which is going to be reimbursable. So I don't know if that could go back into my budget or just go into the savings account. I'm not for sure what we do there, but other part of that was the SCADA upgrades, which was 25,000, and then the ACE pipe cleaning, which was the televising and smoke testing, was about 38,000. So I see that really coming down. I budgeted 40,000 for capital outlay.
And ARPA actually paid for those, but because it was for sewer, we had to classify it as sewer, so it didn't come out of his monies.
So it's actually there.
Uh-huh,
So I just
Yeah.
don't understand it. I'm like,
Yeah.
but I don't see it at the bottom.
yeah.
So your primacy fee, is that?
So primacy fee is, we collect that, but then we pay it right back out to the state. So it's really a non-existent line item.
Yeah, she told me not to worry about budgeting that. I did, which I showed an increase in loggers, kind of been talking to Lana about seeing if the city could kind of move up our retirement. We're on the lowest tier retirement right now. It would have cost approximately 2% to move up to the next tier as far as our retirement plan. But, so I just put that into my budget in hopes of looking into it.
What are your thoughts on that, Lana? Budget-wise?
I haven't really had an opportunity to wrap my brain around it. Victor and I have talked about it. I think that our budgets would sustain it. Certainly would be an additional benefit to the employees, but I haven't had a chance to really look at the numbers overall, how it would affect,
Because
so.
you're talking a percentage increase, I mean, it's a minimal increase, but it's
It
still
is
going to be
minimal.
something that we budgeted.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if we did that, we would just only give them a 2% increase in that salary. Just kidding.
Well, I was gonna say, maybe we saved a little bit on healthcare, I don't know, but,
We see how that goes
Yeah.
in the year.
Yeah.
And then you can revisit both of those to see if that's,
Yeah.
because that might be, you might be on something on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it is, I mean, you know, Joplin pays the highest tier, a level 4, which, you know,
Better
when you look
benefits
at
in
the
the end.
retirement aspect of it,
When
you
you're
know,
getting closer to that, you want to think about
you
it.
know, some of us are starting to get gray.
So it looks like it would be around $200 per fund, that 2% to pay
Per year.
loggers per year. And so it's not a significant, I don't want to downplay an expense to the city, but it looks like it's not a significant increase for it to be a significant benefit to the employee.
I would say that a benefit to the employees is what we want, to attract more people.
Because I did have it broke down what the difference would make if you served for 20 years, how much difference monthly, but I don't have it with me, but, you know, that can be talked about later too.
Any other questions for Victor?
And on top of what you said about the 2% on the raise part, if the employer wishes to match, that would come out of that raise.
Salary,
You know,
yeah.
but,
Yeah.
you know, for-
Yeah.
you
Do
know,
we do
so-
employee match?
We have not ever done that, and I was not aware that a loggers allowed that, do they?
Well, we
We do put into it.
Right, it's the automatic withholding.
No
Right.
extra?
But, no, I don't think we can pay part of that. I think I talked to them about that.
Okay.
It would have to be on the city's aspect of it. But
Okay.
I would gladly give up my.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, if we got a 2% on the city's part, the employer do 2% too, as well.
Employee match,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Be something to definitely look into.
Yeah, there was a lot of rules and stuff on that loggers, but.
Okay, and we talked about, you're very great at making sure you have parts on hand.
Yes, currently, well, right now I've got 3 items that are still pending that have been approved. That was about $13,000. So I carried it over to the new budget because a lot of these things were 6 months out.
Yeah,
You know,
back
they're
orders.
just back orders. So I carried them over on my new budget
Okay,
into the capital outlay.
wait, were those already designated from this year's budget line?
I looked, I didn't see them
I
in
don't
there.
think so, yeah.
Okay.
Until we get an invoice, I don't think it will be,
Okay.
so.
What other items were you wanting as your wish list besides the,
Well, looking at a grinder pump and control panel, you know, about $3,500, but several things that we'll probably need over the year. Probably a radiator for the generator. From the manufacturer was $5,000. I think we can find it cheaper on like Amazon or looking around.
I would suggest we budget for the 5,000.
Plant, but it's gonna be moved.
It'll get moved, yeah.
I suggest we budget for the 5,000. If we get it cheaper,
Yeah.
that's a bonus for
That's
us.
kind of what I've done.
Okay?
New pump for the Hebron lift station. The one I've got in there right now, for some reason, keeps tripping out a drive. So I budgeted $5,000 for that.
So these are the things you've already written in this budget, though?
Yeah, it's already
Okay.
reflected in the budget. It's really not a wish. I guess my wish would be, Jim had just kind of recently started talking about a side-by-side used in between all the departments. We explained a little bit better.
Well, where we've got, you know, for part of our meters, they use that red four-wheeler that's like a 1980s model or something, where we could use a side-by-side for it. Lance has been going around and he's gonna continue, he's gonna GPS our water meters.
Had them on a centralized mapping system like our sewer.
I would say if we were going to invest in a side-by-side, we do need to do that this year because they are going to have to go to all of these areas for this lead.
Yes.
And riding on a four-wheeler and carrying that kind of paperwork for you is probably not going to.
Well, to
Yeah.
when the water upgrade, you know, we're gonna be running around checking it, inspecting it. I even said to Victor, we get one with a bed on it where Davey could put half a bucket of cold mix and run out to a road where you don't need to take the dump, you know, the bigger truck or something.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't mind companies.
I could see where that would be beneficial in many ways.
Yeah.
So I budgeted in $5,000 for a quarter cost of that. Jim estimated about $20,000 for a new one, good one.
I looked at cheaper ones, and then Dave Putnam said, read the reviews.
Yeah, you need to get.
So I don't want one that's we're gonna be replacing, I don't wanna buy four at $5,000 when we can buy one good one with guaranteed warranties and stuff.
And we talked about this, that the city guys can use it when they go read meters, there's multiple uses for this.
But we can split it 4 ways. And even, which he don't have the money, but there's purposes that could be used fire department too. So, that's just. But we've technically got a small sliding unit and a tank for the right brush bar, we could even use it for that.
Yeah, I do see it being a benefit, and I do see that, I feel like the four-wheeler is more of a liability than the side-by-side would be by far. Not that the four-wheeler wasn't sufficient, but I don't think that having your stuff.
And I don't know city-wise on taxes, like as far as write-offs and everything, but the side-by-side you can write off as a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
And the four-wheeler you cannot.
Appreciate and all that good stuff.
So I've got that built into my proposed budget, so.
Okay, so that is built in, okay.
That's part of that 40,000.
No, I put it under the repair and maintenance of the sewer lines, because we would probably utilize it for, mapping the sewer lines and smoke testing,
Okay.
checking manholes.
And the same thing on the radiator and the Hebron lift station.
Yeah, the radiator, I did put under, and everything else I put under capital outlay.
Okay.
And I can, get you a detailed list of that.
Oh, that's okay. I'll holler at you if I have a question about it.
You just went over my wish list.
Can we jump to cemetery real quick and just knock that one off fast?
If I can find that one.
Well, it's just that there's,
Go ahead.
I'm trying to make my staff look smaller really quick.
You're in charge.
You didn't want to do that, I should have went first, because that's the biggest.
I know, I'm well, just,
And me and Bill spent a lot of time on this. Unannounced to one another.
So really, I don't anticipate a lot of change in the cemetery. A lot of their budget, if you will, is based on how many burials they have, because the city gets a portion of that. I think it's $50 for cremation and $1 for a burial. Or $100, sorry, $1. Sorry, $100. And their only other source of income revenue on our end of it, on the cemetery fund for the city, is the real estate taxes, and that is based on a given number. And we get that money when people pay their real estate taxes, basically, so.
What is professional fees?
You click on that really quick, I can tell you.
It's usually be what, your engineers, your accountants.
Cadence surveying out there last year, I believe.
That may have been what it was, too. Let me look at that, I can tell you exactly.
9,600 was budgeted for it, but nothing was used.
Might be because they done the surveying the year before, probably, and it had it in there for that.
Yeah, so we probably just need to
That
shift
may have
some of
been
that
just-
off of the professional fees and onto the contract.
Yeah, that would be the
Yeah.
only professional fees I could see out there would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also dues and subscriptions.
That's what do subscriptions and contracts.
Let's see
What's
what that is. And that may have been what that number for professional fees was. It is because it's all mowing.
No, I was going to say that was the minimum.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't added
And
on the contract.
because it's contractual now, she's putting it under contracts.
So we have contract labor, 7006, and then we have 7181. Mm-hmm.
I think the contract labor on top of the digging, right? That's what.
It's the burial
Specific
mhm.
bears, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's at on it or what, but you might look at an increase on that, because usually it will go up annually. We never raised ours that much, but I know all the others try to.
Increasing.
They try to increase because fuel goes up.
Fuel's, yeah,
Yeah.
fuel's more expensive. Yeah.
I didn't have the expenses that Keith got because I didn't have to haul my equipment. You know, and I mean, he does it full time. He brings a piece of equipment in there, he digs it, he leaves, he comes back. So I can understand them raising their price where we didn't have to because ours set there. But it would just maybe be something to look at so that it doesn't hit us.
So basically, we just
Okay.
need to move that budgeted thing from professional fees to the dues and contracts, I guess,
Right.
since that was your mowing. But that other one came well over budgeted.
On the contract labor, you mean? And honestly, there's no way to budget for how many people will die in a year. I don't know how to say that politely. I just base it on the previous year, what we brought in and what we paid out.
Now, if you ask Martin, I buried a lot of people out there. Well, he said I made digging graves.
Well, I thought you was going somewhere else.
But I still do have my grave bucket on my hoe, that's what you're thinking, yeah.
So we have Jim, which one you want to hit first, Jim?
I really, most of my stuff is pretty simple, it's have-tos.
Okay.
You know, I don't have too much of a wish list like Victor on the UTV, which we just discussed that. And I just don't think about them because it still works, but it could quit tomorrow on my gas leak detector. Because I bought it when I was here before, so it's,
So for the gas fund, you would like a gas leak detector?
I'd like to. And I can get two of them for a total of $3,000. One for the utility truck and then one for my truck.
I'm sorry, how much?
3,000 is what
Total.
for two, 1,500 apiece.
Are you still looking into those automated gas readers, or are you?
That would be, I need to look, we gotta look at that on our water, because the accessibility of getting the water meters that we buy now is run out.
Okay, sorry.
And they sell the meters with the reader on it, and then we've gotta buy a handheld for them, unless you wanna look at, doing a complete AMR system on the water, which, I mean, we've got me and Lana spoke, and the money is there, and honestly, we see that even some of the ARPA money can be used for the AMR system.
I think I did see that. I need to go back and double check, but I think I did see that. I had forgotten.
I don't have a price on that, the last one is around 150,000. Which, you know, I mean, it would take a long time to pay for, but it's going to eliminate a lot of time on metering. You know, one guy, we put probably, 40 hours of meter reading. That would be down to, you know, you still have to walk the gas meters, unless we want to try to fund it out of both and do gas and water.
We also had heard that those were going down significantly too
Yeah,
as
the first
technology
The
advances.
first time I looked into it, it was like $150,000 or $200,000 each. It used to be like $500,000 to do gas and water. I looked at it really quick, but now it's getting down to where it's affordable.
What about the water rates? Victor talked about increasing the sewer rates
Jamie,
4%.
you had already mentioned that.
Well, in that last meeting, we went ahead and said, yes, let's go ahead and pay this $268,000
Mhm.
Yes, we
to
gotta,
start this design, so.
we need to make that payment.
Is there a line item where we can say, you know, towards the new system somehow to show that this is where we're moving into our new system rates type thing? Is there a way to do that?
Well, let me research that because
That's what's hard for me on mine, because, you know, a lot of my stuff runs on what ifs.
yeah.
I think you can calculate that into a rate.
Well, I mean, just, I mean, item line on their bill is what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we can do, I mean, we could do it just as an increased percentage. I would just know that, anytime you have an increase, you have people saying, well, they just make it go up. Well, this would be a way to show, this is where we've started. This is on your bill, yes, you voted this in. This is coming because this is, you want a new system.
Yeah.
This is our new system, this is how we move into it. But it's not necessary, I'm not saying it's a necessary thing. I just thought maybe it might help the citizens understand, yes, it is increasing, and here's why.
So similar to, I hesitate to say it, but the $3 meter fee,
Yes.
have another line item that specifies this is going towards this system.
Yeah, similar to
And-
that, but somehow new water line distributions or new, I don't know how we do that, but I don't know what, and I don't know legally what you can say on the bill, but just to let them know that this has to go up as we fix it.
Why there was an increase.
It has to. yeah.
So we would show it as a utility increase, not a percentage, but as a line item for a specific amount.
That's what I was thinking, yes.
Okay.
You said a specific amount, we say this is a set number that it's going up. Yes,
Okay.
that's what I was
Okay,
thinking.
okay.
Was we on, was we on gas?
No, we're on.
That's water.
Somehow we got onto the water, but,
I have all yours out here, and I'm just
because
making
I
notes.
asked a question about the gas, the meters, and then you're like, no, it's the water, and then we got onto the water, so I was like, I knew
Well,
it was the
I
water.
was also talking about the leak detectors for the gas, and then we
Yes.
went to the,
The water.
yeah, then the water. So where we
Okay.
at?
So we're at the water, and I don't know, what does the council feel about it? I mean, are you guys thinking that it should be a percentage increase, or should it be just a set number that this is, this is going towards this new water system? What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are it's really not gonna matter how you set it up. Everybody's gonna complain. It just,
I think
And that's
it-
fine.
Yeah.
Personally, I would rather see it like.
As a dollar
money.
figure instead of
Yeah.
an increase, a percentage.
Okay.
And on a side note, we still don't know what gas prices are going to be.
Right, that,
And,
Mona, we're
Sorry.
on water right now.
sorry,
That's-
talking about utility increases.
Because that's where I was headed when I asked if we were on gas, was the gas rates. But
So we need that on the next agenda, basically, to make sure that we have the increases on the next agenda to discuss that. And then we can figure out how we want it on there.
Somewhere over here, I have a note to myself to add agenda items. but-
Because we can't vote to pay, that design fee, I don't have that stuff in front of me, but we can't vote to pay for that and then not have a means to make it happen. We're paying $1,000 a month towards that just right now. That's just a thrown-on expense. We have to figure out how to level that out.
Well, and on a side note, Doreen spoke with Robin with OWN, and that was discussed, the $1,000 monthly rate, if we could do any better on that. And so that's something we need to discuss too, if we can use one of the CDs to go towards a down payment towards that or something like that.
Okay, understood. So, is there any, water fund, besides the AMR water system that you're discussing and the handheld, any other things besides our new system coming in that we need to?
no, because like I said, it's gonna, hopefully the new system's gonna cover it. That's why I've got a couple of, mainline extensions, but I'm hoping we can cover them in the new system, so it won't be, that's-
So street, the only thing you had was the quarter of the side-by-side?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because, right now we're running, any repairs we're getting done and everything, I'm hoping with the EPA paying, for like the Vance Street, the repairs that they're doing, that we can bank some money, and then when they're done, we can spend it on our street, what they don't take care of. Because like I said, I want to redo Pennsylvania Street from the school out to Ewood, but they're still traveling on it, and I'm going to try to get them to pay part of the cost on it.
That's gonna slow us down in this next year as far as her switching over to, I remember her saying that it may be more.
It will
difficult.
some, but
But not, you don't foresee it being
I don't think too much, because I can still hold her Liz, who's above her.
Okay.
so. You know,
Gas, back to the gas, you said you don't have rates locked in now.
yeah, right, we don't have that. And then, Lon, that 25,000 on that meter, will it be on this budget? The new budget?
Hopefully we get that, well, I'm hoping we get it in now so that we can just get it taken care of and out of the way. Since the council approved it, we can amend the existing
Yeah,
budget
like
for
that.
gas. So,
On them,
yeah, we don't have anything from them yet, but we have their proposal or their bid, but
right.
Okay, so what was your proposed increase? Was it the 2% on the gas? Or are we waiting till we figure out what the gas?
I'd wait and see, because it could be, what does Jerry say he's looking at? He said what he thought maybe the increase was gonna be,
I don't recall what that was.
but he said it's just like a yo-yo right now.
Okay.
He said it's crazy. Usually April's pretty solid, and it's just been an elevator right up and down.
So then Lon will just have to adjust it accordingly?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And he'll present on behalf of Constellation what their proposal is on locking in gas prices when he gets that, once he talks with them. So he'll come to the board and talk about that, and then we can adjust rates accordingly at that time.
But that's gonna be the biggest thing on our gas,
Mhm.
is just, will be the rates. You know, 'cause I would, like to order it as much as we can, you know. 'Cause if, the way I look at it, if we have to, let's bring the meter fee down to $15 and use the $2.50 on the rate increase. You know, instead of having to pass it on to the customer.
Now, let's see what it comes back.
Yeah, if it's where we can absorb it,
You guys have done a really good job of budgeting those kind of things. Just, I guess the main reason why we really wanted to be more involved is the things that pop up, the surprise things, and really be thinking ahead, what's your wishes, what can we do as a council to try to get these things in place to help too, and I think that's really the main reason why we're pulling you guys in for this today.
and like I said, that falls out of mine because with the anticipation of the new water upgrade, you know, that takes care of a lot of my wishes, so,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I was talking to Lauren, we do the backhoe trade-in every 3 years, and that's not due till next, 2024, right, or,
2024.
yeah, until 2024, so I don't have to throw it in there yet, so. Before we decide-
I think
decide
November.
yet.
November.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Let's see, where are we at? The last is the general.
Do we do streets?
It's doing everything else.
Just
Yeah, you kind of put it in.
quarter of the side by side.
Like I said, with all this EPA stuff, it's a disaster. I
Do you
mean,
have anything for signage or anything? As a previous council member, I used to have a discussion about signs and not buying them all at once.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah. Well, I figured he was gonna put that into the repair and maintenance part, because I'm pretty sure I've lashed him enough that he's tired of hearing it, and I don't think he'll ever want to hear it again, but.
You may have forgot.
So let's make sure we're budgeting in. for
We have the
streets.
one we've got under repair and maintenance.
We are, because are some of the street signs that Joe's proposing gonna go into the street sign down Beaver? For the
I don't have
no
any,
parking on grass or,
Those would be park signs.
yeah, mine are my stuff.
okay.
Well, the no parking on grass can be purchased through the streets because.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
Street. Yeah,
that.
yeah. Your parking spots would be from parks, yeah. But she's talking about the no parking on grass.
And on,
And I'd like to, and I think it should cover it too, more repaint our parking stripes again. And I'd like to find a legitimate contractor that can use, really stripe them to make it last.
who did it last time?
Bailey done part of it, and they run out of paint and never came back, and,
Okay.
Hopper did it before that.
but we've done it by
Yeah.
hand, Joe.
I saw him out here painting that crosswalk one time, and they've got cones telling, like, do not drive on this side. And this lady was like running over his cone, and he was like, I'm painting this. It was hilarious. It's like, oh my smokes, I remember him painting them because of that.
But most of it, my stuff on the streets falls into to the maintenance because it's,
So we don't have there's not like a special line for it, is there?
The line system actually is the one I use in streets. It's the one I use for utilities too, but since they don't have an actual line system, I use that under streets for streets
we might need a
specifically.
David Kitchens, who's been knocking the signs down.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get an attorney fee.
But
He takes his job very seriously. He's worked very hard.
well, like some of the new signs you put up there, take them down as fast as.
Any other questions for that, Joe?
100% police coverage.
Bobby.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, who's the police, is that yours, Bobby? Are you the
Yeah.
Police department? Pencil that in your budget, would you?
Part-time employee, right there.
Yeah.
Okay, general.
I'm back on police because I did hear what Gabe said. So when I create the budget for them, do you want me to tentatively put 5 officers in there, including our chief?
Yes.
Or, okay.
And
Was it 5 or a
Well, it was
part-time?
4 and a part-time is what we had it, but if, I mean, let's pencil that in and see, and then we can back down if we need to.
Okay.
But I'm telling you guys, you cannot run the police department 24/7 on 4 officers. It's not going to happen. You can't do it. If any kind of sickness, any kind of vacation time, I know we have reserves, but I calculated it, I watched, I looked at it, I went over and over and over it. It's just, you need another officer if you're going to get full-time 24
Well,
hours.
you know, it's even like my department, we run so short that when you do have one person out,
It hurts.
it kills. I mean, yeah, you're a standstill.
I look at, if you've got 4 people on your team, when 25%'s gone, it's very painful. You know, each time you have more, then your percentage is less, I guess, you know, but it's just, I just don't think it's gonna happen for our town. But the council has the ultimate decision.
Now's the time to budget it in.
Okay, Lana.
So my income is a little off kilter on the general total because of real estate taxes. They do have a new county employee. I'm just not getting those funds as quickly as I have in the past. I anticipate getting them. It's just been slow in getting here. My budget, because it is City Hall, typically I can spread it across Jim, Victor, and general. So I do want to budget specifically for the new City Hall. We had not done that previously. For $75,000, which was hopefully something we can do. And then also salary and loggers, I would like to discuss increases at our next council meeting or whenever we decide to do that. Other than that, I really don't have anything that
How did we, I'm just curious, how did we come up with that number for City Hall? You know, like did, because maybe I'm one behind, but did we get some kind of bid or?
I think initially when we started talking about it, it was a number that maybe based on what it cost the police department to do theirs, and theirs was so much more extensive than what we wanted to do at City Hall. Thought that the $75,000 would cover it. Yeah. Hopefully, we can get a lot of it done, and maybe if there's additional that's undone, do that a different year.
And that, it's pulled out of the
The air, Jim.
Well, yeah, the air.
Well, I guess you got
Never
people
sounds
that work
good.
on things, they kind of, just like you talk about your carpet on Facebook, that's not right, but you're used to doing it over and over again, that's just kind of an idea of what you come up with.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if we can keep it at that 75,000, and there are wants and there are needs. And sometimes, once you get your needs taken care of, you may have to step back in a few years later and get the wants taken care
Yeah.
of, with the savings of the move, or for the reason of the move. So that we may have to make different decisions or change things around as necessary to keep it in that 75.
At the front end of the police department, Colors did that, and it was 48,000, I think, for the front of that. And it was a lot more extensive, I think, than what we were wanting to do on the city hall side.
So you're not gonna need bulletproof glass and,
I hope not. I hope not.
Therefore, you need sand box, or not sand wall.
We're getting them bathrooms.
I have no more questions for you. Anybody else?
Hey, what about the fire district contract? Are we up on that? Have we sent
That's-
that to them?
That's, well, not the contract. Jamie said she was going to talk with Steve.
That's what,
And
that's what we
then-
just discussed earlier, because the
Mhm.
contract is up on July 1st. So,
Yeah.
and I wasn't sure what the process of that was, so she said that you just reach out to Steve.
Yeah, and I do think that the previous mayor did go to some of their board meetings to negotiate. Did you? Okay.
Okay. That might be a good thing for her to do with me, if that's okay. Okay. Alrighty.
Other than your payroll increase and the upgrade to go to City Hall, anything else you need? Printers, computers, anything like that?
I don't think so at this time. If we do need a new computer, it would be at the front desk there for the utility billing clerk. Tony's been having to do some work on that here and there, and so it could be because of the age of the computer. So, but less than $1,000.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
I said, on budget, should we just look at the payroll increase down the line? I mean, for all employees?
Well, you're gonna wanna budget in whatever you think your increase is gonna be, kinda like,
Yeah.
Victor has his written on there, so we're gonna put that in our proposed budget to see if it can sustain it, is basically what we're looking at. So if you have an increase, that you're looking at.
I'd like to sit back like it used to be, where it's just 4% annual.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
4% annual down the line. That way,
Yeah.
because that doesn't, you know, in a roundabout way, it just makes it easier to budget it annually. You know that's gonna be.
I like the idea of having an annual increase based on ordinance or employee handbook, but I also think that we should consider merit-based increases, because I'm going to go there. I mean, recently we've had some increases that weren't merit-based, they were just given, and I feel like we do have employees that work for the city that a merit increase would be merited.
So, what I pictured is more of like a ladder system, and that's kind of what we've been talking about, is more of a ladder system that
Yeah.
builds.
And part of that needs to go as far as your fringe, as far as your benefits, as far as your vacation time. We've got people that have been here multiple years, and that vacation has been stagnant. We need to be able to give them as an additional benefit for their loyalty to the city, that benefit of extra time off. My thoughts.
And we have some excellent employees, and I feel like they're often overlooked. When we need employees, we are desperately pulling people in, but the ones that have been here and have been loyal and have been good workers, they're overlooked. And so something needs to happen there.
I guess that's just something we're gonna have to mull over and get real serious with within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Who is
Started working on it.
who is the longest standing right now? Is it you?
Jim.
How long?
Jim,
Jim,
How long?
than Victor and?
Well, I came back in 2014, but worked prior for 20 years or something.
Yeah, I'd have 27, 28 years,
And how much vacation time do you get?
3 weeks.
As of last year.
You only get 2.
Yeah, he's not broke over yet.
And that's just because it just never got established,
Reevaluated
and you
and
didn't ask for it.
I did when I got
He
hired
has.
on, I tried.
Okay.
But
he had.
I got shut down back there in the rooms.
Okay,
You know, I was like, I'm bringing a lot of years
yeah.
of, you know, but I was working as a contractor.
Well, I hope that this new council will be more appreciative of those kind of things.
I think when we done the lauders, Charlie Collinsworth, he tried to go back, and just the way it was, he couldn't go back on my previous 15 years here. Couldn't do that because of separation of 5 years,
Right, okay.
the length of separation.
So we'll put that on a budget or an agenda item to discuss. I will say, Lon and I are meeting next week, I think you are as well, right? I don't know, with us. So you don't know what it is.
I don't know what I'm doing.
And those will be things that we're gonna try and add into the employee handbook, the benefits that we want to offer.
Gotcha.
That
Let
will
me
be brought to
look
the
and make sure
council.
I really do have that on my schedule. What day are we talking?
22nd?
Mhm.
And when was the next department?
And what time is that?
One that
I mean, I think
It's,
Yeah.
1 PM
First.
First.
on the
Yeah,
22nd.
1 o'clock.
I was close.
I have an appointment at 10 o'clock in Oklahoma, but I think I can make it.
That's the 22nd of what time, Lorraine?
1?
Okay.
Is there any way I can talk to you guys a little bit at 2?
Sure.
Or is that too?
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I'll be here.
No.
Okay, we just shift it back to the.
Could we still meet at 1 and then if we,
Yeah.
bring
guys
you
meet
into it?
And then recap it, because then we'll jump. Yeah, that'd be great. I'll come in at 2.
okay. Okay, Lon?
Sorry
Perfect.
about that.
No, that's fine.
No, it's been a long week, and there's a lot of things that I just don't know right now.
Mhm.
Right now, what do the new hires get? So, do they start out with a vacation?
They have to work here a year and then they get 1 year. And then,
1 year?
I'm sorry, 1 week.
Well, I'm taking it off.
Working here, get a year off. You get 1 week. And then after 2 years, you get 2 weeks, but then you have to be here 10 years before you get that 3rd week.
Yeah, it's
So-
a big jump.
It is.
Yeah, and I think that might be something else. Where I work, we work off an accrual system, so you earn so many
Where's that?
hours a month. So that way, if you've got a new hire that needs to take a little bit of time off, they're not just not getting paid. They can request to use the accrued vacation time as well,
Yeah,
which is what we're gonna talk about as far as the employee handbook goes as well.
yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
sick days on there?
Mhm.
And what are your sick day policies?
Pull that up really quick.
Yeah, 'cause that, like where we work, like you start out with some vacation, and then I think it's maybe a week,
I think you start off with a week.
and then after
8 hours.
or is it 2? It's after 5 years. No, it's after 7 years you get 3.
Yeah, it changes.
15 years you get 4 weeks.
Yeah, the,
Well, if there's no other budget
But
questions, anybody have any budget questions, so we can't, close this out? Nope, okay, we're gonna go ahead and, I would entertain a vote to, in this session, make a motion that we,
Adjourn.
Adjourn.
we didn't make a motion to start it, so.
you don't have to. Okay, so I have a motion to adjourn, I have a second from Bobby, all those in favor, 4-0, it is adjourning at 12:31.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to